And we are live. Welcome to the latest session of our Jade Punk game. And we are going to turn over to Jenny to give us a recap of what went on recently. So take it away, Jenny.
Okay. Well, I'll try and remember as much as I can. That was 3 weeks ago. There was a big soiree function type party in our new location area, this lovely tranquil place full of mountains, and it turned out to be hosted by, well, I don't know how common knowledge this is in Kaosao, but the Empress was a special guest, it just so happened, and she was very friendly with the host, who I happened to play last time. But then it just so happened that Mifune and Yoshida had managed to obtain secret invitations in order to get in, and Mifune decided to kidnap the Empress. Eventually he managed to get away, heading back to a rather startled Daisuke, and Yoshida, I believe, was left to pick up the pieces.
Pretty much.
Mifune and Daisuke then decided to plant a bomb inside her, along with Ban helping them out, but it turned out there was actually something else inside her already. Some strange scorpion-type mechanical little device, which Daisuke unfortunately got stung by, so I'm sure there's bound to be repercussions there. But it turned out, and Daisuke, being in character, being quite skeptical of this, turned out it was manipulating the Empress's mental capabilities.
Indeed, it wasn't made clear exactly how it had been influencing her, but before she passed out as a result of the sort of amateur surgery that had been done on her, she did say that it had been controlling her, or it made her do things.
Technically, we don't know if that's true, but
Exactly.
Indeed, you don't. Very good point.
Then Mifune decided the best thing would be to get her to the hospital, so he took her there. Now, this is the bit where it's a little bit hazy, but he encountered someone who we knew already, and insisted that she healed the Empress, but I can't remember exactly who she was.
it was the head of a medical facility that was
but I can't
involved
remember
in
who.
some jade tech experimentation in the past.
There was the Black Jade as well.
Yeah, she's the one that gave you the black.
Yeah. And then Yoshida finally caught up with us after being escorted through the streets by 4 guards, but somewhere along the way these guards just kind of convulsed and died, slightly inexplicably. Lots of kind of gooey stuff coming out of their mouths, and Yoshida was left startled and ran away. No, it wasn't your fault at all, Yoshida. We all got back together, and then what was the final thing that happened?
Okay, I believe the final... Sorry, go ahead.
We all gathered together, me, Daisuke, Ban, and Yoshida, and me and Ban came up with a cunning plan to get rid of the research outpost. Do you guys remember what that cunning plan was?
Oh, yeah.
Does it involve Red Jade? I think it involves Red Jade.
It was dividing the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Daisuke and Ban would work on the bomb, divide it into 4
Mm-hmm.
bombs.
Yeah, I remember.
We would use it on the 4 chains. I think Ban and Yoshida would set it up on the chains to get them to explode, to release the outpost, to let it float in the air. Well, me and Daisuke go onto the outpost and try to find some white jade in order to get that transmitter working so we can call the fleet.
Yeah, I remember that bit.
Indeed, that was the plan. Like say, find the white jade, finish the installation of that into the long-wave transmitter that Daisuke's been working on, use it to contact the Airish rebels, who went into hiding along with presumably some of their airships in the northern mountain ranges to the north of Kaosao, and presumably use them as some form of getaway.
Cool.
And I believe we left the session with 7 of 15, an agent of the Tuyangan 5th, arriving, stepping out of the shadows into your hideout where you're currently secreted, and saying that the Empress had awoken. And that is where we pick up this session. So literally, as I've said at the end of last session, Yoshida had been talking to you all. He'd mentioned about not knowing what was going on. He was a bit confused and bewildered by it. Then he'd heard this soft coughing from behind him. He'd turned around and there was this tall figure wearing formal blue robes who both Daisuke and Mifune recognised as a person who'd been referred to only as 7 of 15, who was an agent of the 5th. A strange man who always seemed to refer to Mifune as number 3. And as he stepped out of the shadows, he says, "I thought you should be aware the Empress is awake."
Yes, thank you for telling me. Should probably take care of her now, right?
And like I
She's
said
valuable
before,
as an asset.
I would like to see her.
Well, I can certainly arrange to transport the 3 of you to the facility where we're holding her, although I should warn you that her coherence is questionable at best. We've had to use some extremely heavy painkillers. I'm sure you can understand, given the ordeal she's been through. It's practically a miracle that she survived at all.
Well, no, we can't do that right now. These two have to help me with a job.
Well, I simply came here to inform the 3 of you that she is awake. If you do wish to speak to her at any point in time, you can contact me via the normal means, Mifune.
I nodded him.
Until then, I will leave you all to your business. And he steps back into the shadows. They appear to flow over him almost like a liquid. And then with a slight wet popping sound, he is gone, leaving the 3 of you alone again. Well, the 4 of you, including Ban Ban.
Well, I've never seen that before.
Ban Ban's sort of gone over and she's looking at the shadows, like where he disappeared, sort of with interest.
Can you do that, Mifune?
No. Anyway, looks like the 4 of us have some work to do.
Yes, and also I'd rather not go to the Empress. I'd rather she came to us, perhaps when she's feeling a bit more well.
Well, I do have pressing questions for him, but I can wait if we're going to do this now.
Okay, what's the plan, guys? What do you do first?
Wouldn't it be better to nip the white jade issue in the bud?
With what?
Recover some white jade, that won't take very long, and then fix up the communication system.
Apart from black jade, it's the rarest kind of jade.
Isn't there
It's
a
not
white
going to be
jade?
that easy to just find some.
Isn't there a white jade mine nearby?
Isn't that on the outpost?
Possibly.
I'm not entirely sure. I'm not really familiar with this district.
I'm not familiar with the city.
Well, maybe I could get in touch with Tanaka. I'm sure he'll know of anyone else.
Well, that seems to be a whole other thing.
Do we have enough red jade?
Yes.
Well, I think
Indeed.
that sounds right.
It seems that Mifune's plan, as you would know, as I mentioned previously, Daisuke, that Mifune's plan of quartering the red jade that you already have to make 4 very potent but slightly smaller explosives is entirely feasible.
Okay.
And we must act now before the governor's troops have time to react.
Yeah, and before the Empress gets well enough to actually react to this.
No, I don't think that will be a problem.
I hope your men can handle her if she turns aggressive.
I'm
That
sure
it-
she won't.
There was
But
something
surely,
strange
where
about
the
the
Empress
age of it
goes-
as well.
Surely where the Empress goes, the governor follows.
I was just about to say that.
Was-
The
Was
governess.
he at that party?
Not in
So-
person, but definitely in spirit.
So
what-
the
what I'm
spirit
saying is-
might follow her around. That's
What I'm
horrible.
saying is when
I was being metaphorical, Mifune. He
when the
controls this.
Empress gets well enough, surely she'll want to try and contact him.
Not if she's being controlled. And besides, those men can handle it.
But we took the Scorpion out.
We do not know what the Scorpion does, though.
To be a complete decoy. That's the point, John.
Mhm.
Since I was stung by this scorpion, have I been feeling particularly strange feelings in my hand?
Not really. In actual fact, it's a little bit strange, and obviously with everything that's been going on, you've not really had a chance to consider it. But now you actually think about it, you actually feel quite chirpy. You actually feel quite good, to be honest. You feel a strange, probably quite unaccustomed for yourself, a sort of strange sense of optimism and sort of hope. Even some of like the sort of slightly crazier things that Mifune's suggesting, that you find yourself sort of thinking, yeah, we can do this.
Look, guys, you guys haven't dealt with the Kaiyus before, as far as I'm aware. Yoshida's giving Mifune a sort of a quizzical eyebrow at that. Obviously, he probably wouldn't tell him if he had. But they were into all kinds of strange things. Last time I encountered Kaiyu influence, we had all kinds of blue, jade-infested people running around the city, causing all kinds of mayhem, which you may have heard of.
Luckily, that's a thing of the past. Hibiki's right, I can feel it. The time is right to do this.
I'm just saying, let's not make assumptions about the condition of the Empress.
Well then, let's get this out of the way, and then we can worry about the state of the Empress.
As you're talking about this, through the sort of window of the temple where you're staying, you can hear in the streets outside the string music and woodwind instruments beginning to play.
Just to confirm, it is the middle of the night, right?
It's gone past the middle of the night. It's just starting to get light a little bit outside, but it's still fairly early.
Does Yoshida understand the cultural reference of this phenomenon? If it's like a festival or a significance, like signifying a funeral or something like that?
That's a good point, actually. Make me a scholar roll.
Ooh, first roll of the day, guys.
Hey!
I got it.
I'm gonna try.
You're sounding like you get extra XP for that or something.
No, I usually I'm not the first person to roll on these sessions. Ooh,
Okay.
not too bad.
As you're listening, you can't place the exact song, but it seems like a very old song. It's in like an older sort of dialect. You can hear a young woman's voice singing outside. You can't make out all of the words, but it appears to be talking about a species of flower, from what you can make out.
It's a bit early in the morning for that kind of song. Are there flower girls running around the city this time of day?
This is an out of character
Why
question.
are you... Okay, sorry.
But I was just thinking, what time of year is it currently?
You're in the summer at the moment.
Okay, so a song like that would be quite relevant. Okay. Well, maybe they play music to help people wake up in the morning. I think it's a very nice idea.
It's a very old song. It's not really.
Oh,
I know
Unbelievable.
you're probably not interested, but it's just a bit unusual that
like tradition, don't they?
it's just odd to
I
play at this time of the
literally
day.
just kidnapped the Kaiyu Empress, and we're planning to blow up a research outpost, and you're concerned with the song the Flower Girls are playing.
As you're sort of piecing together the words, Yoshida, the song appears to be about something called the Dansu Ran, or the Dancing Orchid.
Do I understand what that's about? Like, what it's like, what the Dancing Orchids song?
You vaguely remember it's like an old folk tale or an old nursery rhyme where it's like a cautionary tale. This dancing orchid was reputed to have a fragrance that instilled in people the desire to dance. Now, there was a nobleman who became obsessed with these orchids, and he used to keep great bushels of them in his own home. However, over time, the sap from these orchids seeped into his skin, and eventually he'd become so enamored of them that he literally danced himself to death, unable to resist the siren song of these orchids. And forever after, in that kingdom, the name of which changes depending on who's telling the story, those orchids were forbidden due to the effects they had on people.
It was a dance so good that it may have been forbidden, as you say.
The orchids were forbidden.
That's one way of interpreting it.
I know what you're saying, Mifune, but you said before, people should do nothing which is of no use. So it's a bit unusual.
When have I ever said that?
All the time.
I gotta just stare at him extremely quizzically.
You're assuming, Mifune, this might be one of those instances, another one of those instances where you've obviously said something sensible to him, and he sort of read his own meaning into it, perhaps.
Guys, I've seen the true side of the government.
Let's get them all out.
This is a beautiful thing, something that's not controlled by the government for a change. Just treat it as a nice, trivial feature to our day.
Maybe I'm just being a bit suspicious. I mean, someone did kidnap the Empress, and maybe I'm just a little on edge.
So,
I don't know that.
geez, are you going to announce to everyone?
No. Why would I do that?
I knew this one assassin guy who...
Got there before me.
Stunning. This one time at Assassin Camp.
Well, why don't you just...
The legend that he didn't want to know, but everyone found out.
Why don't you just get to work on those bombs, and then we can...
Yeah, if we're going to go, we need to go soon. It's already nearly daylight.
Yes. I'm just gonna like check outside to make sure that there is nothing weird going on. Just
Okay.
Because I'm not really needed for the next part. You know, Dasuki can make the bombs, Mifune can do his thing, and I can sort of check outside and make sure we haven't been discovered.
Okay, yeah, not a problem. You check outside, and as you do, you see what appears to be a young woman setting up down at the far end of the street, setting up what looks to be a small wooden, I suppose almost market stall might be the best way of describing it. You know, a simple awning, fold-out wooden table, etc. There's a young man stood next to him. He appears to have a couple of instruments laid out on a crate next to him. He's actually playing a sort of flute-like device. As you're sort of looking out of the window, the young woman is singing while she's decorating the stall. You see she's hanging garlands of flowers over the stall, many of which, if you look on the screen there, are a brilliant sort of white-coloured orchid.
Now that the Shida hasn't seen this, not the government's forces stomping down the road, he sort of relaxes a bit and sort of thinks to himself, it's nice that the governor hasn't banned all music and culture in this city that he doesn't like. Perhaps there's hope for the city yet.
As the as the man continues playing, he picks up like a sort of, I suppose a sitar would be the best way of describing it, and he begins to pluck the strings of it, overlaying another melody on top of his companion singing. And as you listen to it, it sounds a little bit familiar to you. And then as the song continues on, you recognise not the words but the tune. It was an old nursery rhyme, an old a sort of lullaby that your uncle used to hum to you when you were very young.
Yeah, she just taken back to that time, more innocent time, back in the dance temple. He was learning his first few steps.
Can you please make me an explorer roll?
Explorer roll? Of course I can. Now, I'm not under attack, am I?
No, you are not under attack.
Okay, just for my technique.
They're not attacking you with a like 5-fist orchid technique or anything.
5-pointed staff. Lowest exchange.
As you're sort of watching the woman, and she's almost in a sort of flowing, languid pace, laying out these orchids and decorating this stall, it slowly dawns on you that a lot of the movements she's doing are very much like a slowed down version of some of the more esoteric, maybe even forbidden martial arts that you yourself practice.
Yeah. Is she a practitioner? Obviously, I can't just go up and ask her that, which is probably the easiest way to figure that out, since martial arts are forbidden in this city. Unless that's changed, John.
Now, martial arts themselves aren't forbidden, however, teaching martial arts is forbidden.
I mean, the Janku could use some extra help. But is it worth the trouble? Yeah, Ishina's going to pop outside for 5 minutes and go and investigate.
Okay. Yoshida's popped outside for a few moments. What are you two inside doing as this music continues?
Well, I'm going to head over to Bam Bam and start making the bomb.
How long does that take?
Depends what tools they've got.
Man says, "Well, I've got most of my portable set of tools with me. I should think an hour or two at most."
Okay, let's get on with it.
Alright.
And the two of them sort of stop very delicately and carefully, sort of heating up the implements to enable them to, like, you see what appears to be a small sort of saw that she's going to use to cut through the jade. However, they have to keep stopping at intervals to sort of pour water over the saw blade to stop it getting too hot and causing any sparks that may ignite the red jade. Indeed, there are sort of clouds of steam, like a issuing forth every time they pour some water onto the jade in this saw, as they're very delicately like.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna head out, and due to my white jade asset, I can travel around the city at an alarming speed. I'm gonna look for a distance away from this location, and then I will fly to District 17. And since this was only a few hours, just a short excursion.
Okay, not a problem. You head a couple of streets away on foot, and then as you will your tattoos to activate, you feel the by now familiar winds buffeting you and lifting you up above the skyline of the city, whisking you across the skyline before depositing you gently on the borders of District 17.
And my intention is to just stop by and see Olan.
Okay, that's not a problem. You stop by. What are you seeking? Are you seeking to visit Olan or?
Yeah, I'm just visiting him because he seems shaken up. He seems kind of in the know about something that I'm not sure about. So I want to I'm stopping by just so he thinks I'm super friendly.
You managed to track him down. He still looks a little bit little bit shaken up. But as he sees you, he nods and he asks you to come in into his humble abode. It's a little more than a sort of lean-to, really. He says, "Oh, is there anything I can get you? A tea or?"
Oh, a tea would be lovely. Such a gracious host.
Well, I'm afraid it's not much. After the disaster in the Sheshin district, the water supply around here is not so good now. And he sort of potters off, and you see him sort of making a small cup of tea.
Really? I guess you must really hate whoever did that.
Well, yes, it's made things a lot harder around here. At least we used to have a bit of a community back in the old days, but most people have fled now. I mean, what with the Aram conflict and then what happened to Sheshin, most of the people have fled District 17. There's only a few of us, like myself, still hanging on here.
That's much sad to hear. And you say that you don't have enough water?
It's not that we don't have enough. And he, by way of an explanation, he holds out this small sort of chipped teacup towards you. As you look at the water in it, you can see there's a bizarre sort of, I suppose, scum on the surface of the water. And as the light shines on it at different angles, occasionally you see tiny flecks of different colours refracted in the scum atop this water.
It's jade infested.
Yes, I've heard other people saying that whatever jade was in Sheshin, when it was destroyed and everything melted by whatever caused that horrible explosion, most of the jade ran off into the water supply, got soaked into the ground with the rains.
Oh, that is quite sad to hear.
He leans in a little bit closer to you and he says, I've heard in some of the neighbouring districts that children have even been born with signs of jade taint on them.
Well, that's been happening for a while. Are you saying that's more? It's more common?
Well, I'm no scientist, but I've certainly heard about it more in the districts surrounding the Sheshin district recently.
Oh, that's horrible. First you have no water, and now people are being born tainted. And I don't want to alarm you, but although slavery is illegal here, in the world, people pay top dollar for beautiful jade-tainted slaves.
He looks a little bit frightened when you say that.
I'm sorry, it's a harsh word out there.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure none of the nobles of the city would want any slaves from around here. Though, I mean, what could we possibly have to offer them? We're just a poor, simple people.
Don't worry. I'm not saying that I've seen a bunch of slavers in town recently or anything.
You've seen a bunch of slavers in town recently?
What? No. No, I'm saying that I haven't.
He's like, oh, I'm sorry, you gave me such a scare. Then he said, well, what was that thing going on? What with the war? And then there's these new strange armor troops about, and then there's explosions going off everywhere. Oh, I don't know what to think.
Don't worry. Even if, hypothetically, I did happen to cross a slaver, I would be sure to erase him. So there's no threat to you, hopefully.
He looks sort of like a strange mixture of like happy when you say, oh, well, don't worry about it. Even if I did come across an energy, like I would erase them. He's like, that doesn't seem to. He seems to go back to being unsettled again.
Oh, don't worry. You remember those thugs that had mercilessly persecuted you over here?
Oh yeah, yes, of course I remember.
So, some people just need to be dealt with like that. Some people there's no talking to, reasoning with. I'm sorry, this conversation seems to have led in an area that's just disturbing you.
Oh, so that's all right. To be honest, I think it's partly the water around here. We're all getting a little bit short-tempered, a little bit jumpy.
The water's causing you to be irritable?
Well, I think so. And you know what people are like when people are scared. When they get worked up, they say things they don't mean. We've got no choice but to drink this, and he sort of points at the water in the cup with a sneer. Otherwise, we die. But Lord only knows what effect it's actually having on our health.
That is actually very troubling. My friend, would it be alright if I took you to a doctor? Just so he could, I've only met this man once, but he seemed like a good person. He's helping, with that red mark plague that was going around. Perhaps we could ask him if he could check if you have such a... if the jade is indeed affecting you.
If you don't mind, although I can't really afford a visit to a doctor at the moment. I have very little in the way of material wealth.
Well, I have some money, friend. It should be fine.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Yes, please.
Alright, so I actually will, if he follows me, I will take him outside and fly away to, hang on, I've got it in my notes, the head of the Tonyachu Chi facility.
Okay, not a problem. Indeed. You whisk him over to the Honyaku Chi medical facility where, you know that Kimura Yoshiro is the head of medical research there, the chief surgeon, if you will, who you last saw, obviously, during your previous visit.
Right, and I look around and see if it looks like there'll be any trouble getting in there.
There doesn't appear to be any noticeable issues.
I'll walk into the building and I'll try to get to see Dr. Kimura Yoshiro.
Okay, you head in, and the receptionist says, "I'm afraid Dr. Yoshiro isn't in today. He's been called away to help consult with some governmental matters. I'm sorry, it doesn't say here on the paperwork when exactly he'll be back."
Oh no, that's fine. Just as long as there is a doctor who can see this man. We're worried about some jade poisoning.
Oh dear, jade poisoning. Well, yes, I'm sure we can get someone to see you. That's no problem. I'll just see who's on call at the moment. She looks through her paperwork and says, yes, it's a Dr. Hayashi Akinori. He's filling in for the day.
Alright. So how about that, Olin? We can go see him?
Oh, well, yeah, if you think that'll help, of course, says Ola. Yeah, if you please follow me, says the nurse, and she leads you through. There's a tall gentleman wearing sort of quite large spectacles. His hair's slicked back to his head. He's wearing the typical sort of surgeon's robes and apron. As you walk in, he's writing some paperwork on his desk. He looks up and says, please, if you just take a seat on the bench and pop your clothes over the back of that chair, I'll be with you in a moment.
I nod to Olin that it's okay.
He looks a little bit unsure and then sort of hesitantly starts to take off his filth-encrusted sort of tatters that he passed for clothes that he wears. Drops them on the back of this chair.
I will, of course, afford him a moment of privacy, if he wishes. I assume he does.
As the doctor looks up and he says, well, yes, sir. And now, what precisely is the problem here?
I give a moment for Olin to speak, but if he doesn't,
He looks as though he's got his head hung down. He looks as though he's not really sure what to say for himself.
okay. My friend here thinks that he may have gotten some bad effects from some jade taint in the water.
Ah, I see. Okay, well, we'll soon sort that out. Stick your tongue out. There's a good fellow. Olan's like, and he puts this small tongue depressor into his mouth and starts peering into his mouth. He's like, I see. Yes. Then he starts looking in his eyes, sort of pulling his cheek down and peering in his eyes. And he turns back and says, well, this is just a preliminary examination of your friend. Obviously, if we wanted to do more detail, we would have to send some of his blood away for analysis. However, I shouldn't worry too much. I don't think your friend's in too much danger. There is a slight increase in the amount of particulate jade in his system. I can tell by the discoloration of the teeth and some slight discoloration of the nerves around the eyes. It's all within acceptable levels, in my opinion, though.
Acceptable levels?
Oh, of course, as I'm sure you're aware, everyone in Kaosao is exposed to some levels of jade runoff. Given the works to the north and the mines, it's almost unavoidable. Of course, the city does their best to filter it out using the blue jade water filters, but there's only so much you can do. Very small amounts of particulate matter, tiny fragments of jade, no bigger than a speck of dust or sometimes even smaller, obviously sneak through the filters, and it's unavoidable that we all ingest a certain amount of it in the water and in our food. But unless you're taking on a serious amount of it over a very long period of time, it's mostly harmless.
Mostly harmless.
Well, yes, there are people who have an increased sensitivity to jade, which can have some effects on them, depending on the percentages of the types of jade that are built up, a shortness of mood, a bit of lightness of head, those sort of things. Nothing terribly serious.
Well, you heard the doctor, Olin.
He nods and says, "Oh yes, thank you, Doctor. Is it all right if I put my clothes on now?" The doctor's like, "Yes, of course, fellow, of course." I tell you what, those clothes seem to be a little bit threadbare. I'll have the orderlies provide you with a set of patient's robes, and we'll get rid of those rags for you. Seemingly sort of mindful of his sort of place, being a sort of lowly member of society, Aolan keeps his head down. He's like, "Oh, that's very nice. Thank you, sir."
You might not want to throw those rags out. They're all he has.
Don't worry. We'll provide your friend with some nice new clothes. I can't promise anything fancy. Like I said, there'll be a simple set of robes, but at least they'll be clean.
All right.
And he shouts to one of the orderlies, tells them what to do, and they eventually come back in with a set of sort of plain sort of beige robes, which they hand over to Olan, who starts sort of like pulling them on and tying them up with the belt that he's been given. The orderly sort of picks up his rags with like a look of sort of distaste, trying to hold their nose a bit away from them, and carries them out of the room.
Alright, so if nothing eventful happens, I will return Olin.
Okay, not a problem.
And head back. The only significant bit of information is I'll tell him to contact me if he sees this Al Nagra figure.
Oh, yes, of course I will.
Well, you take care now, and then I leave the area.
Okay, not a problem. Meanwhile, I will go back to Daisuke.
Mm-hmm.
Daisuke, yourself and Banban, over the course of like the sort of hour or so that Mifune has been gone, you've successfully portioned out this this red jade into 4, and you using the various bits and pieces that Banban has and bits of your own equipment, Daisuke, you've managed to fashion it into 4 smaller charges.
Okay, is that it now? Do we need to do anything else?
Banban says, well, I think that should do it. The power of the explosion will be lessened, but it should certainly be fitting for what we need it for.
I might just have a double check to make sure that each of them can be triggered. It would be so bad if one of them just didn't go off.
Okay, make me a scholar roll. Or actually, no, it'll be an engineering
roll. I was going to say, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, they all look absolutely fine.
Okay then. Well, I suppose we wait for Mifune to return.
Okay, I'm going to jump outside to Yoshida at the moment. You've been watching this woman decorating the stall. What do you wish to do?
Yoshida will approach, keeping. I don't. Can I do a more appraising kind of scrutiny of her movements in the sense of? Can I pinpoint the kind of martial arts she may or may not know? Is it the same as mine? Or
Okay, make me a scholar roll.
as I get closer. Scholar. Wow.
Okay, yeah, it is the same martial art that you yourself practice, although it is slowed down and there's a few extra more unnecessary movements thrown in to make it look more like a simple dance.
So she will approach, keeping an eye on his surroundings to make sure that he's not being observed if possible. Again, he's going to engage the woman in conversation about, well, he's basically going to try and buy a flower for Banban because the music's kind of disarmed him for the moment.
Okay, as you walk over to this woman, she deftly, with a single hand, plucks a large white orchid from the front of her stall decorations, and she offers it out to you by the stem. And it says, "For you, sir. You're our first customer of the day. There is no charge."
Really? That is most kind. I did not realize you set up this early in the morning. I've seen you about the district, but I didn't...
Oh, yes, sir. The residents of this district have always been most kind to us. They have an appreciation for beauty and for things which flare brilliantly, like this jade lotus here, she says, and indicates the flower that she's offered to you. It blooms only briefly for a few minutes a day and then closes up tight for the evening.
Okay. Is there a way to know if she's using some kind of code word? I mean, obviously she's talking about flowers, but is there a way for me to know that she's checking for a response?
Make me a scoundrel roll.
Scoundrel roll. Ooh.
She doesn't appear to be using any code words or anything on those lines.
Well, she don't feel... Well, I'll be honest, madam, inquiring in the name if she has,
Oh, of course, my name is Akira Kimi.
Akira Kimi, pleased to meet you. I'm not really familiar with these... Oh.
Are you buying this flower for a loved one? A young lady, perhaps? A young gentleman,
in a manner of speaking,
perhaps?
a friend of mine has had a tragedy in her family recently, a loss of her mother.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry to hear that, sir. Well, flowers have traditionally been a great comfort to people in times of sorrow, as well as in times of joy.
Yes.
The right flower can say almost anything, sir.
Bring a smile or a frown, I suppose. I'll be honest, floral arrangements are not really my expertise.
She holds her hand out and gestures for the orchid that she's giving us. But perhaps this would not be such an appropriate choice for such a somber occasion. And she sort of takes it back and starts rooting around in a stall. There's all these bushels of different orchids. Mm-hmm. And she eventually pulls out another flower. This one a sort of deep red hue, although it's quite similarly an orchid. And she passes it over to you and says, there you are. So this is a rare specimen known as the dancing orchid. Very rare, sir. There's all manner of legends associated with this flower, sir. Indeed, it's rumoured that the perfume was so splendid and the joy and the feeling of lifting people's hearts that it bestowed on people was so much so that in ancient kingdoms the sale of this flower by unlicensed people was practically forbidden, sir.
And yet you have it here?
Well, of course, these are old fairy stories, sir, nothing more. Of course, the flower does smell sweet, but it has no supernatural effect. It does not make someone dance, as the legends suggest. It simply lifts the spirit and calms the soul.
It's not poisonous, is it?
No, oh, bless you, sir. No, of course not. I would hardly be selling it if it was poisonous, would I?
He's got kind of a smile on his face at the moment because it's kind of amusing him that he realizes he does nothing about this sort of stuff, but for some reason it reminds him of you two, that he thinks that kind of posh little noble would know all about this kind of thing and all the legends, and he kind of misses him, but you know, the leaves fell as they did.
She sees this sort of like look of wistful sadness cross your face. And then she says, are you all right, sir? You also seemed troubled. I hope you do not think I'm being too forward, sir, but it is part of my job to keep my customers happy. After all, a happy person buys more flowers. It's simple business sense. I'll tell you what I do whenever I'm feeling down or a little bit sad. I dance, sir.
Do you?
Yes, and I find it lifts my spirits tremendously.
It's funny you should say that. When I was younger, I used to go with my family to the dance recitals of the 12 Virtues. They're a beautiful display, and I picked up some of those moves there.
Well, since you told me something of yourself, I'll tell you something of myself, sir. When I was younger, I unfortunately suffered from an affliction that left one of my legs slightly wasted and weakened. It had always been my ambition as a young girl to dance in the many temples throughout the Kaosao, but alas, with my leg injured, it seemed that wasn't really a possibility. Then I happened to be wandering to the north of the city. I was picking some herbs that grow in the mountainous regions there, and then I met a strange old man, and he came across me while I was deep in my sorrow, while I was crying to myself. He asked me what the matter was, and I told him that I was upset that I would never be able to dance in the temples, and he looked at me in a way that I've never seen before. And he told me that a simple physical impediment was no reason that I could not achieve my dream. And he took me in, sir, and he trained me to dance in the style that he danced himself.
Oh, that is quite a fanciful tale.
Indeed, when I had learnt all that I felt I could from him, he let me return to the city with his blessings, and I've been running my flower business ever since then.
It's a shame that the governor, in his misplaced wisdom, decided to shut down all the temples. to the 12 Virtues and the other, cultural houses in the city.
Yes, it is a shame, sir. Things have certainly gotten a lot darker in the city over recent years. That's why I think it's more important than ever for me to keep running my stall. I like to think that I bring a little bit of joy into people's lives, even if it's just giving them a small flower which makes them smile for a few moments. Everyone's so weighed down by their cares and their burdens.
The best of the city's already dead. That's I've wanted to say these days. A lot of people have died over recent. Yeah,
she nods and says, but you can't just look at it like that. So yes, a lot of people have died, but more people still live. Isn't that something to be happy about?
It's something to protect. As you see, the sort of grasps the flower slightly more possessively, and says, "I suppose I should get this to its intended owner. Thank you for your advice and sharing your story."
Oh, not at all, sir. Not at all. If you should happen to want any more flowers, I'm in this district every other Thursday.
I'll keep an eye out. Thank you very much. And as Yoshida will, I don't know how much trouble this will get him in, but as he sort of walks off, he'll kind of maybe do a few steps in his traditional dance technique, just to prove that he does know.
Okay. You do a couple of your dance steps as you walk off. As you sort of reach the street and you're sort of turning into the alleyway which leads to your hideout, you cast a brief glance back over your shoulder and you see the woman with a small smile on her face as she watches you leave. She nods in your direction.
And I will return to the secret hideout that everyone knows about.
Okay, not a problem. You arrive shortly after Mifune, who's just returned back. Assuming you were going back there, Mifune.
What do you mean everyone knows about it? What have you been saying? That's it. Yep, I arrived back. So, have you got that bomb ready? I was just taking care of some business.
Yeah,
They
it's
sure are
already.
deeply engrossed in work.
I'm sorry?
Excellent.
I have double checked as well to make sure that all go off when triggered. They're all primed and ready to go.
Ban nods and says, yes, with the two of us working on it, it took less time than I expected, to be honest. Your friend here, and she gestures at Daisuke, is quite skilled.
Tanaka has taught me a lot in the past few months. It's good to put learning into practice.
Well, that's all swell. Now let's get going.
Okay, as Mifune's saying that's all swell, let's get going. That's when Yoshida comes walking back in.
He comes in actually humming the song, probably looking a bit more chirpy than he has in months.
He's humming a little ditty under his breath. There's a little bit of a bounce to his step, and in one hand he's holding this large sort of deep crimson orchid.
Oh, where'd you get that from?
The flower
Yes,
girl.
why are you holding the crimson orchid of death?
It's not an orchid of death, Mifune.
Yes, it's a common
You bought it from
symbol
the
of
shop?
assassin organization.
It's only 5:30 in the morning. I didn't think there was anything open yet.
Well, I guess they start early these days. They've got to earn a living somehow in the city, right?
Well, what do you want a flower for?
And you didn't think that was suspicious?
I thought it would complement Banban's outlook today. A red jade mission for a red jade girl. He sort of like.
I turn around because he just started hitting on Ban, and I'm just like, no, I don't have time for this.
Man's looking a little sort of bashful, and her cheeks have got a slightly pinkish hue.
Oh my god, she's got explosive cheeks. Sorry. So yeah, he just sort of slides up to her and just puts the flower in her hair and says, "Today's going to be a good day. I can feel it. This mission's going to go well."
She looks at you for a few moments, and you see her eyes start to sort of tear up a little bit, but then she like blinks it away and shakes her head and says, "I hope you're right, Yoshida. It'd be nice to have a good day in this city. I long thought that such times had left the city far behind."
Mm-hmm. He gives her a sly hug and says, "To better days. Let's get this done."
Bandman says, "Well, you seem to be the person with the plan," and she looks at Mifune.
I just imagine he's gone, like he's left the hideout and gone somewhere.
Okay.
Well, I'm ready to go if everyone else is.
So, I'm going to ask each of you what your role in the plan is, just to make sure everyone
I roll my eyes
is
at Ban Ban.
100% on the same page.
You sound like one of those young officers who had to train us every so often when I was working on the airships.
Well, because of that, you can go first. What are you supposed to do?
Well, Mifune, my role, if you want to call it a role, is planting the bombs and then stepping far enough back so I don't get blown to bits with them when they go off.
No, your role is to get aboard the outpost with me. To find the White Jade.
Banban says, I thought it was myself and Yoshida who were going to be planting the...
Yep.
That's correct. See, these pre-mission...
Am I the only one that paid attention?
I see your point.
Are very important.
I have been working on the bombs though for a while, so I just assumed that I would be...
There are 4 chains, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Each of you will take 2 of the bombs.
Okay.
This will probably be a sneaking mission.
Those are my favourite. Now, Mifune, I'm not suggesting that you have a host of hidden contacts and informants since you wander about the city without us knowing where you're going, but do you have any information on the government's forces in this area? What we're like to expect?
No, but I'm thinking that you can expect some armored troops to respond pretty quickly.
Maybe those clockwork things? Has Mifune seen the clockwork things? I don't know if he was here when we encountered one.
So, I'm going to go over the plan again.
Okay.
Me, Daisuke, I will fly up onto the outpost with the 2 of us.
Okay.
This will be conspicuous and draw attention.
Mm-hmm.
While they are distracted, Ban and Yoshida will plant a bomb on the chains on the ground. Each of them have 2 bombs, and we'll plant 2 of them each.
Question, boss.
What is it?
What time are we going to set for these bombs?
Are they on timers or detonators?
Good question.
They're on detonators.
So who has the detonator?
Daisuke, what's the range of the detonator?
Just have a quick think. Well, obviously it would be on a radius. I would say, 50 feet most.
Do we need some kind of signaling mechanism when they've all been planted, or are you just going to press the button at a certain point in time?
I'll probably just have to press it after we acquire the White Jade.
I suppose I could try and set the detonators to timed, so we can then, or you can then leg it if you feel that's too close.
Do we have an extraction plan?
Well, you guys are sneaking, so you should be able to just sneak right out of there.
No, I mean, like once you're on the island and it's free from the
Yes.
chains, how are you going to get off it?
By flying off.
Okay. So you can do that reliably.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You've never really explained to me how that works. So just
It's a
don't want
white
to get
jade.
trapped up there.
So, Yoshida, what's your part of the plan?
I am going to go and plant a bomb on 2 chains, and then meet you on the island, or am I meant to stay? You want me to stay on the ground?
I want you to leave and eventually report back to this hideout.
And I'm to accompany him while he does this, says Ban Ban.
You were to put the bombs on the 2 different chains, the 2 remaining chains, and then leave and do the same thing.
Because if you want me to come to the island, I'm sure we could figure out a way to come and back you up if you need assistance. There could be heavy forces on that thing if they're building a factory or something.
Oh, I know, but the intention here isn't to fight all of them. It's just to get the White Jade, call the Air Fleet, then get the hell out of there.
I think there is a point you haven't considered.
Mm-hmm.
If we do this and the chains obviously are broken, the island will move. How are you going to? Wouldn't it be better to signal the air and fleet of your intention before you go onto the island? Because I'm pretty sure the governor's forces and the Kaiyus are going
The
to.
governor's forces right now are distracted trying to look for the Empress. We have to do this now.
I'm with you on this, but I'm just saying there is a fleet of Kaiyu ships that could be on that thing within. Well, I'm going to educate a guess, John. Maybe less than an hour.
Isn't wait, where in the city is the outpost?
The outpost is hovering over this very district, the Sengoku District.
Okay. In relation to the Council of 9 building and Lowport, where is it?
Okay, if you've got the Council of 9 building here, Lowport's there, it's sort of over there.
Okay, so it's... I have a map handy. It's closer to Highport on the right.
That's correct, yeah.
Well, it'll take time for them to it'll take a significant amount of time to them to recalibrate their weapons to fire over there.
Very true.
And besides, I have had word that they're forming a meeting for the Council of 9 on one of the Kaiyu destroyers, so they're probably busy.
Well, that's good information to have, but the question was valid. That's all I'm saying. I don't want you guys to get stranded on there and get blasted to hell.
That's impossible. I always make my escape.
Yes.
In Yoshida's experience, he is very skeptical of things going quite as smoothly as he's thinking, but he approves of this plan. Yeah, it has its merit.
Alright,
Okay.
Do you think, John, it would be feasible for me to make a scholar roll to make some sort of advantage based on the plan, having planned this?
Yeah, I'd say that'd certainly be reasonable. I think you need a good roll to get the advantage. Yeah, not a problem. With your epic plan-making skills, what would you like to call this advantage? Perhaps something like, I've got a plan, or I've got this covered, or something along those lines?
I'd like to just call it I've planned for everything.
Yeah, not a problem. You now have an advantage. I've got a plan. I've planned for everything.
Cool.
No problem at all. Okay, and presumably, are you all planning to make your way straight there and carry out this plan?
Oh shit, I didn't think of that. Yeah.
Okay, no problems. So Yoshida and Ban begin making their way through the city to where the various chains hang down from the outpost. You can see 3 of them on the diagram I've just put up there. The other one is directly underneath the central island, labelled as 1 on the diagram, and runs straight down. That's the thickest of the chains holding the island in progress. The others are to stop it sort of moving about in the wind, whereas the central one is the one that mainly tethers it to the ground.
So are there indeed 4?
There are indeed 4 of them. Like I say, 3 of them you can see on there, and 1 is directly below
underneath.
the central island.
Okay.
You're not entirely sure how the smaller islands are attached to the main one. You would assume perhaps like bridges or something along those lines. They're obviously attached in some way to the main island, but they don't actually have chains like linking them to the ground.
Okay.
All right. Yoshida, Ben, I'm going to give you 15 minutes to get a little bit closer. Then I'm going to fly Daisuke up.
Okay.
Okay.
If you run into trouble, find a way to signal me and I'll find a way up there.
I'll stomp twice if I need help.
We are a team, Mifune. We can do this together. You can trust me. You can try.
Okay. So, Yoshida, you take your 2 small charges and you begin making your way towards 2 of the chains. Now, just as a quick question to ask, now, obviously this is your plan, Mifune, so this is a question mainly directed at you. Who are you putting in charge of taking out the thickest of the chains, the main tethering chain?
It's been picked for a football team.
I will say Ban. My logic is she will know exactly where to place the bomb. And because I think it would be funny if she died and Yoshida had no one left in the world to care about. I mean, what? What was that last part? Oh, wow.
Damn it, what's happened to my internal monologue? Okay, no problems. You set Bam in charge of taking down the main tethering chain. She looks at you with a look of steely determination, sort of like, give me a few last-minute checks to these 2 charges, and then nodding and says, "Don't worry, I'll make sure it gets done." And she leaves and heads off, followed shortly after by Yoshida. You wait 15 minutes, Mifune. Then what do you do?
Alright, are you ready, Daisuke?
Mm-hmm.
You have, you've got the white jade communicator,
Yep.
and we're ready. Alright, so I grab Daisuke and I fly off.
I'm still not used to this.
Okay, as he basically grabs hold of you around the waist, Daisuke, it's almost as though a great updraft of air from underneath the 2 of you catches the 2 of you and propels you skyward. Mifune seems quite at ease with this, his robes sort of flapping around him, giving him the aspect of some sort of winged creature from legend as you soar skyward. For yourself, as you say, you're still not quite used to this. It's a little stomach churning and disorientating for you. You're not entirely sure how Mifune's like directing where you're going, although he seems to sort of occasionally sort of move his body in a particular fashion, which seems to direct your flight. And you soar skywards towards this huge floating island with smaller ones sort of almost in orbit around it. Although as you're getting a bit closer, the air whistling past you, you can see they're actually like a series of rope bridges and what ought to be like scaffolding attaching the 4 smaller islands to the larger one. Can the 2 of you please make me a... I'd probably say an explorer role, but I'll be open. It's to notice something as you're whizzing through the air, but I'll be open to potential other roles.
I didn't sense anything.
Is Scholar technically interpreting the world around you?
Yes.
So, if this is like a detail for me to notice, I could use Scholar. If it's just like a thing...
I'd be quite happy to use Scholar.
I'm actually going to use the aspect that I have an eye for detail.
Okay.
And I'm going to re-roll.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, obviously extremely disorientated and not used to this method of travel. You're more concentrating on keeping your lunch down, Daisuke. However, Mifune sort of looking upwards as you're holding on to Daisuke, looking at your destination, you see what appeared to be three. I mean, you're still some distance away from the island. It's still sort of like a speck up in the sky. But as it's growing nearer, you see what appeared to, as you're rightly saying, that some of your methods of travel are quite conspicuous. You see what appeared to be three shapes launch themselves, presumably from the top side of the island, and they begin plummeting down towards your position at a very rapid speed.
So we're going up, reaching the island, and these three shapes jump off the island and start heading towards us?
That's correct.
Oh dear. Alright. I didn't plan for this.
As they move closer, and obviously with sort of Mifune saying that, you've obviously now seen them, Daisuke, you can see that the three shapes appear to be three very large suits of armour.
Oh,
Alright.
not this again.
So my attempt is to just we need to head onto the island so I can fight properly.
How come they must be a different type from the one I was in because they can fly as opposed to jump?
Wait, the other ones could only jump, I say?
Yes,
And
jump
I'm now
really
gonna
far
try-
distances, but it's still just a jump, whereas these guys are controlling their flight.
Okay, I'm just going to try to get onto the island. Come on,
Okay.
brace yourself, Asuki.
Can you please make
Okay.
me an explorer roll to sort of basically jink around them, Mifune, as they seem to be heading directly towards you? And can you please make me a scholar roll, Daisuke?
Yeah. My scholar is still only 2. That needs to change.
Okay.
Is that contested with me, or?
That's a contested roll with you, Mifune. That's basically for them sort of aiming to hit you against you trying to avoid being hit.
Alright. So, is this like I'm trying to get past them, but they managed to block, so we're on a collision course?
Yeah, basically what's happening is you're sort of heading upwards towards the island. They're coming down towards you. You're basically trying to sort of maneuver around them and keep going up, whereas they're trying to maneuver so they collide with you.
Well, seeing that I can't get out of the way of the collision, I say, alright, we try the hard way. I'm now holding on to Daisuke with one arm, and I'm ready to like
What are you doing?
punch one in the face.
Don't
In my
drop
mind,
me.
I'm thinking that I crash through them Superman style, but probably
I don't want to lose my legs.
not that
again.
impressive.
Okay. With your scholar roll, Daisuke, as they're sort of
Yes.
plummeting down towards you, you see as one of them draws back its arm, and you see what looks to be like a long blade
Oh.
emerge out of its forearm. And you can see, quite unlike the armor prototype that you piloted, these appear to have what look to be sort of lacquer work of a shining white substance inlaid into the actual armor.
Yep, white jade, there we go.
Okay, can you make your attack roll, please, Mifune, as you try and punch through this armored figure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You strike a glancing blow on the armor
Okay,
of
wait.
this figure.
And,
Unless you want to alter your dice.
I'm just gonna roll to. Oh no, I'm just rolling to activate my asset.
Okay, cool.
I make a. Oh, sorry, that should be a +1. Alright, so that's fine. Alright, so the damage inflicted on that attack, he can't use a stress box, and the severity of the consequences increased by 1.
Okay, not a problem. You strike a glancing blow, as I've said. However, as your fist sort of clangs into this heavy armored plate, you're actually able to hook your hand under one of these armoured plates and rip it away. It spirals end over end, falling the immeasurable distance down to the ground below. Sort of as you're sort of dangling, being held by one arm, Daisuke, this huge armour plate with this lacquered white jade sort of falls past you, just missing you. You watch as it disappears slowly down towards the ground, and then almost like you know when someone falls over a cliff in a Roadrunner cartoon, there's that tiny puff of dust and very little sound as it hits the ground far below. It's a little bit like that. If you had any doubts about how far in the air you are, that dispels it. Okay.
I kind of slightly kick my legs in disbelief that I'm off the ground like this.
Okay, now before this returns its attack, do you wish to make any move? Do you wish to do anything from your precarious position?
Me or?
Daisuke, as this thing bears down on you, lifting its blade.
Okay. What I want to try and do is wait until one of them comes underneath, and then I might try and land on it.
Okay, not a problem. That'll probably be an explorer roll, since you're trying to sort of dodge around and reposition yourself.
Should we roll it now?
Indeed.
Okay. Oh, look at that!
Okay.
It's the headbanging, see, it makes me do better.
Okay, not a problem. With that roll, bear in mind there's 3 of these sort of armoured figures that are plummeting towards you, one of which is basically locked in a combat with Mifune's. He's just torn the armour plate off it. As another one sort of plummets by you, you find yourself slipping from Mifune's grip, but you're able to spin yourself and basically land yourself on one of these other armoured suits, avoiding its sort of clumsy attack. Obviously, basically you're on its back. It's gone like that to try and slice you with another one of these sword blades emerging from its forearm, and you basically sort of dive over it and like are stuck on its back as it's sort of like trying to flail around and get you off. Okay, now I'm going to roll for their attacks. So first of all, I'll do the one that is attacking Mifune. Okay, I will spend a fate point for my serve and protect aspect to reroll that. Okay. Okay, you're still beating it as you're sort of tumbling end over end, locked in combat with this thing. It lashes out at you with this sword. However, despite the fact it seems a lot lighter than its bulky frame would suggest, perhaps due to the white jade lacquerwork, it is still somewhat restricted by the fact it's a huge metal suit of armor, whereas you are a tiny figure being borne by the winds, and you're able to sort of zip in and out of its reach, avoiding the clumsy blows of its sword. Now we move on to the one attacking Daisuke.
Explorer roll?
Indeed. Okay. I'm going to spend a fate point for my serve and protect to add 2.
I am also going to spend a fate point. Okay, I'm going to use my Heart of Steel aspect. Since I'm now on one of them, I feel a bit more in control.
Not really applicable to this situation, because that's more of a sort of like emotional thing. It's not going to help you like avoid getting a panel beaten off the...
And if you can stretch it that far, you can use it for anything.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, would I be able to... Let's see. Can I use my eye for detail aspect?
How is the eye for detail aspect applicable in this situation? How are you seeing your character as using it?
Well, when he lands on this this armor thing, by that point he is looking around constantly because he knows one of them's going to make an attack at some point.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll say you can use that.
Cool.
Okay. As you sort of duck under that attack, you're starting to be able to predict these things' movements a little bit. As you dodge that attack, with your eye for detail, you spot the third of these things sort of closing in on you, still sort of plummeting down at speed, and you hear this shh as another one of these blades emerges from the third figure's forearm, and it attempts to attack you.
Oh, okay. I'll take that.
Okay, not a problem, since that is an armor unit who have the characteristic harm 2. You would be taking 5 stress from that.
Okay, let's see. Just remind me again, are you able to take 1 box of stress and 1 consequence? Or only 1 of each?
You can take as many consequences as you like. You can only use 1 stress per attack.
Yeah, but say for example I fill the 3rd box of stress, which is 3, and then do a mild consequence as well.
Yeah, that's it. That's fine,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. So I'm going to take a mild consequence. How is this thing attacking me? Is it with its blades and like?
Yeah, basically, as you're on the back of the other one, it's pretty much fallen down level with you, and it's slicing across at you with this blade.
Okay. Then I would say laceration.
Okay, not a problem. From where you are, Mifune, you hear this loud clang as you feel Daisuke's suddenly like breaks away from your grip, flips over onto the back of one of these other armor units, deftly avoiding the blows. Then you see the third one plummet down and slices across with this blade. You see blood flecks splatter into the air where they hang for a few moments before tumbling down. Then you see these 2 armor units with Daisuke trapped somewhere in the middle, sort of falling down towards the ground. As you're obviously still going up, fighting against this one that you're fighting.
Okay, so Daisuke is falling to the ground?
Pretty much. He's pretty much sandwiched between these 2 armor.
Okay. So
as they're all sort of falling down towards the ground, locked in combat, while you're sort of going up fighting against this other one.
Alright, so I'm gonna try quickly head over there and throw my arm in between them and pull Daisuke out.
Okay. I'd say that's going to be an explorer roll to see if you can evade the one who's attacking you whilst you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will spend a fate point for serve and protect to up that by 2. Basically, with the rolls at the minute, you would still get Daisuke, but you would also take damage while doing so.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, not a problem. So with the harm 2, you will take 4 stress.
Mm-hmm.
How do you wish to apportion that?
Second stress box and a mild consequence. It's attacking with a blade, right?
Indeed.
Okay. Lacerated shoulder.
As you throw your arm out, Daisuke, you see Mifune sort of reaching an arm out for you as you're tumbling past. Then you watch almost in slow motion as this armor troop behind him sort of slices across the back of Mifune's shoulder blade.
Ow.
You see blood spray into the air as he sort of grimaces but still holds his hand out in your direction. What do you do, Daisuke?
Okay, yeah, I grab him by the wrist.
Okay, again, this will be an explorer roll to see if you can evade these 2 units attacking you. Let's make one roll for both of them. Okay, currently you'll be taking damage.
Yeah, okay, I'll take the damage.
Okay, you take 4 stress.
Okay, that's a moderate consequence.
Okay, what do you wish it to be?
Oh, well... Could it be like a deep puncture of some kind? Like in the side?
I don't see why not. Punctured side, that's fine.
Punctured oblique.
Okay, just to point out to you with your, as you're sort of reaching out for Daisuke Mifune, Daisuke grabs hold of your wrist. However, you see one of these blades get stabbed into his side. You can see from, even with your practically non-existent medical training, that Daisuke's looking in a bad way.
Okay. So I'm going to try my best to fly up onto the surface. We just need to get there now.
Okay, again, it'll be an explorer roll.
Why not? Because I am a practitioner of the 13 forbidden martial arts. It doesn't help.
Okay.
Unless you think the planning advantage helps out here.
I would certainly say that since you said earlier on there's probably going to be armor troops and there's going to be resistance, that yeah, you could certainly make a case for using that advantage.
No, so I got a good roll.
Okay.
I made a good attempt at escaping them.
That's not a problem. You calling upon the power still inherent in your white jade tattoos, you break free from these 3 figures that continue plummeting towards the ground. It would appear that unlike Daisuke's assumptions earlier, they can't actually fly. They just appear to be sort of lighter than you would expect them to be. They appear to be able to glide, for instance. And you break through them, and the winds lift you up towards the island, sort of carrying the fluttering figure of Daisuke, who's still grabbing onto your wrist.
Okay. Are you okay? That's a stupid question. You're not okay. But we have to get going.
Just about.
Okay, and you find yourself on the side of the largest of the islands. You can see that in the distance, up near the centre of the island, there appear to be various construction crews sort of carrying about heavy timber. Normal sort of cow south citizens. There's a lot of city guard knocking around here. You can see the unmistakable form of several of the armour units in the distance, no doubt overseeing these operations.
Right. I'm going to look around for white jade, because I suspect, because they're carrying around heavy timber and they got it up here, they must have some white jade slabs or something.
Okay. Make me a scholar roll. Okay, you look around and you can't see anything nearby you, but in the distance you can see that there are a number of workers moving sort of heavy boxes and masonry about on what appear to be these almost sort of like trays of, you would assume to be white jade with like handles attached to them. They're obviously negating the weight of what they're pushing as they're sort of moving them about.
Alright, Daisuke, we need to get over there. Then I can break up one of those slabs. You can quickly use
Okay.
it to contact the fleet.
Mhm.
And we begin making our way over there.
Okay, not a problem. Can you both make me scoundrel rolls, assuming you're sneaking your way over there?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
What have I got? Okay.
I'm a great scoundrel.
Okay, you are indeed a great scoundrel. Your colleague, however, not quite so much. Okay.
I am pretty badly wounded.
As you're heading over towards where these men are moving this masonry about, you see a strange figure that appears to be observing the work that's going on. He's wearing fairly standard robes, nothing that immediately marks him out as strange. However, you can see that there's a featureless, what appears to be a metal mask covering the person's face, and they have a hood pulled up on their robe. The person appears to be giving orders to the city guard and the rest of the crews.
Would I know what rank this person is? Or what his position is?
The metal mask isn't a rank that you're familiar with, and you're familiar with pretty much all of the standard ranks within the city organisations. It's certainly not a standard city guard uniform.
Weird guy, Daisuke. Let's stay away from that one for now.
However, Daisuke, you do have a heart of steel, as you've described previously, and as you're sort of watching this strange metal masked man giving these orders, you can't help but notice there's a slight resemblance between the mask that this person's wearing and the mask that your interrogator wore in government warehouses.
Yes, I will take the fate point. Tar. A slight resemblance. Okay, in what way?
Okay. It appears to be constructed in a very similar way. It's a single piece of metal rather than like Sorry, I'd already moved your fate point over.
Oh. Sorry.
Okay. As you look at it, you can see it's a single, almost molded, it looks like, piece of metal. It's not been there's no marks of sort of tools working on it, and it gives the same sort of air of menace and detachment that you came to know from your interrogator when you were in the government warehouse.
There's something about him. He looks very similar to someone who interrogated me, although he's dead now.
The compel.
Okay, he's an interrogator.
The compel would be that obviously you never really had a chance to resolve what happened between you and the interrogator, since, as you later found out, he actually died shortly afterwards. You never got a chance to really take your vengeance on this person. However, now there's this person who, for all intents and purposes, in front of you, looks very similar to him. And normally, obviously, your heart would tell you that now's not the time, not in your state, but your heart's made of steel. You don't let your emotions...
Well, figuratively speaking.
Yeah, you don't let your softer emotions rule you.
Okay. This construction site, what does it look like? Would it be, say, very easy for me to just push him off something, or?
Okay, it looks as though they're basically setting up a large amount of scaffolding around a previously ruined structure. You can see that efforts are underway to rebuild this structure. The person wearing the metal mask is stood on the ground. He doesn't appear to be speaking. However, he's gesturing at the various raw materials and at various parts of the construction, and the city guard, the workers, seem to be following his directions, even though he's not actually speaking. He's just sort of pointing.
So he's in full view basically at the moment.
Indeed, yeah. He's just sort of stood. He stood at ground level,
Hmm.
surveying the work that's going on.
Is there any kind of large, heavy, say, wood bricks that is currently suspended above him?
There are various, not suspended directly above him, but there are various sort of pieces of masonry, timber, etc., that are being hauled up on what appears to be quite an elaborate clockwork pulley system.
If only that clockwork pulley system went wrong. Okay, I'm gonna sneak over there.
Okay, not a problem. Make a scoundrel roll.
And this is the part where I do terribly and get
What
caught.
the hell are you doing?
You just go on ahead.
Okay, miraculously, given your current state, you manage to sneak over to a position where you're sort of crouched down behind a large pile of wooden support beams that have obviously been put to one side, ready to be used. And you're sort of crouched down behind it. You're basically almost within arm's reach of this metal masked figure who has his back to you. However, now you're a little bit closer. As the figure moves, sort of pointing his arms around directly, you can hear what appears to be a very quiet sort of whirring sound.
Is it coming from him?
It appears to be. It's an almost sort of mechanical clicking noise.
Okay. I'm gonna grab him and then kind of push him up against his support and say, "Who are you?"
Okay, not a problem. Make me a fighter roll.
Oh, whoopee. Hopefully he's really old and really bad at fighting. Okay,
Can you roll slightly epic then?
Yes, I've seen the true side of the government.
Okay.
Therefore, this is really making me angry, emotional in that way, wanting me to really hit this guy.
Are you
So
re-rolling?
I'm gonna re-roll. Well, actually, it could be even worse than that if I re-roll. So, okay, no, I will add +2.
Yep.
And then I will also use my aspect. Everyone has a choice to do what is right.
Okay, not a problem. Move your 2 fate points into the pool.
The pool.
So that will put you on.
2 fate points.
No, that'll put you on an equal footing to me, I believe.
Yes, it would. You're right.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to use my free invoke of your laceration and your punctured side
Yeah.
to add +4 to my roll. Okay, as you run over to this guy, you grab hold of him, and literally as you grab hold of him and try and spin him round to like throw him up against the scaffolding and say, "Who are you?" It's almost like you're trying to pick up and move like an incredibly heavy, sort of solid object. There's no sort of like give to him. It's almost like you've run into a brick wall or something similar as you sort of take hold of him. He literally reaches out a hand again with this strange whirring clicking noise, grabs you round the neck and lifts you up off your feet.
I'm gonna stop kicking my legs.
That causes you 4 stress,
Oh, fucking hell.
as he's literally like squeezing the life out of you.
Okay. 4 stress. Okay. All I've got at the minute that I can use is a severe, which is 6, and then I've got my first 2 stress boxes.
Don't forget,
You've only got one.
You've only got 1 stress box. You've taken the other one, remember?
Oh yeah, of course. You're right.
You can just take the severe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Basically,
And
that's the best way to do
cancel
it.
Oh yeah, I
And-
keep you in the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just remember, you need to have damage inflicted on you that you can't absorb in any way to be taken out. Just so you know.
Okay.
Okay, so what would you like to take as your severe consequence?
It's like deja vu. Crushed jugular.
Okay.
But obviously way more severely than the last time I had a cross jugular.
Okay, not a problem. Mifune, from where you are, you see Daisuke run behind this pile of supports, leap over them, run up to this guy, almost like smack into the side of him, sort of trying to wrestle him round and throw him up against the scaffolding. This metal masked man reaches down just like with a vice-like grip, grabs Daisuke round the throat, lifts him up, and Daisuke's face starts going an unhealthy sort of bluey purple colour as he's sort of squeezing his hand.
I'm just looking, because I'm endlessly sardonic and occasionally misanthropic. I'm just, why the hell would you fail with my plan in such a way? And yes, I am taking the time to do this. I look around to see how other people are responding.
Okay, you can see that the workers have pretty much stopped what they're doing and they're just sort of looking in the direction. A couple of the guard have started to like move over towards where this is going on.
I can't. What? So I'm gonna.
What was that?
There is what sounds like a loud explosion, and the ground underneath you seems to lurch slightly.
Okay. I'm taking that opportunity. I'm gonna run and I'm gonna strike this metal masked man.
Okay, make your fighter roll. Okay, yeah, not a problem. How much stress are you inflicting?
Just roll to activate my asset. Yep, so I would inflict 1 stress that he has to take he can't use a stress box, and the severity of the consequences increased.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, as you run over and you strike this figure, his head snaps to one side and the metal mask that's on his face flies off, clanging to the ground. As he turns back to look at you, you see, rather still holding on to Daisuke with his other hand, you see what appears to be, rather than a face, an intricate array of cogs and gears slowly whirring and clicking away underneath this hood.
So they've made things even more inhumane than their predecessors.
Escape quickly! As I get ready to strike my next blow.
Okay.
But he's still holding on to me, isn't he?
He is, yeah. You're going to have to make some sort of attack to get yourself free.
Well, I'm going to try and get his hand off, but...
Okay, make a fighter roll.
I'm not feeling particularly optimistic right now. Me and my lanky arms.
Can I use the free invoke of the consequence I inflicted on him?
You can indeed.
Okay, so
that's being used by Mifune. Since Mifune has damaged his clockwork, that can give you a +2, so that takes you up to fair, so you're level with me. So you just need 1 more boost to beat me.
Okay, well, one of the two. I send the true side the government. Now that I know this thing is definitely clockwork, like I really want, it gives me the urge to try and escape. It was a bad idea to go anywhere near him, you know.
Okay, not a problem. Spend your fate point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mustering the last ounces of your strength, you tear this metal sort of gauntleted hand away from your throat and sort of fall backwards to the ground a few inches away from where Mifune's just like smashed it in the side of the chops. Okay, Daisuke appears to be free.
I'm kind of holding on to my throat and nursing it, but I'm gonna like try and get myself up at the same time and just run in the first direction I can see.
Okay, you start scrambling to your feet.
I deliver the final blow on this creature. Okay. Just roll to activate the asset. So I'm beating him by... Oh wow, waste of a good roll. I'm beating him by 3, and he can't spend a stress box, and the consequences have increased.
Okay. As you deliver another vicious blow to this thing that's in front of you, this cloaked clockwork figure, sparks start to fly out from underneath the cloak. The actual cloak catches on fire as you appear to have damaged some sort of internal workings of this thing. However, it appears to be, it now has the aspect on fire, obviously. It appears to be quite unperturbed by the flame zone, despite the fact that one of its arms is now hanging down and it's moving in an erratic fashion. It spasmodically begins to sort of like move closer to you, still reaching out with one hand. You can see the flames sort of licking around its arms as this gown goes up in flames.
Okay, I'm going to try kick it into something flammable. I don't know. If there's wood lying around, maybe, or if there's a person. Yeah.
Okay, there's certainly plenty of wood, and I won't make another roll because you got that legendary roll previously. You kick it square in the chest, it flies backwards into this huge pile of wooden support beams that Daisuke was hiding behind earlier, and after a few moments of it struggling to get up, sort of crashing about a bit, you see the wood start to smoulder and then catch alight as flames lick from its robes and start running along the edge of the wood. It would appear that some sort of perhaps lubricant or oil or something along those lines is also leaking out of this figure, which appears to aid the spread of the fire. Soon this whole wood pile's like up in flames.
Well, that's good, I think. And I look around for Daisuke.
Daisuke's sort of a couple of feet away from you, scrambling to his feet.
I run over. What the hell? What was that? What was that?
I told you, he looked like the man who interrogated me, and I couldn't let him stand there.
Couldn't you rationalize that? I mean, come on.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to jump back over to Yoshida, who's been patiently waiting. Okay, Yoshida,
Hello.
You've reached the sort of foundation of the chain, the anchor point where it's fastened to the ground. As you get to nearer, you can see that there appears to be a squad of city guard sort of patrolling around the area.
Okay.
And you can see one of the large armor troops stood next to the chain.
Ah. We're talking like right next to it.
Yeah, literally a couple of feet away from it.
Is there many buildings around the chain? Is there?
Yeah, there's plenty of buildings about.
Okay, so Yoshida will bide his time to when the patrol is like going away from the chain. He's going to try and climb up on one of the roofs and get above the metallic thing without it being seen, if possible.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. I'll just point out for clarity's sake that although as you rightly say, the city guard are patrolling, they're moving about, the actual armor figure just appears to be sat next to the chain.
She just sort of wants to jump above it so it doesn't actually see it, if possible.
Okay, make me a scoundrel roll to see whether you're successful in evading notice.
Okay.
You need a good roll.
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. You climb to the top of a building that's adjacent to this large chain. The armor troop does not appear to have spotted you. You can see the chain stretching up past the building, heading up into the sky where it's tethered into the bottom of this large floating landmass.
Right.
As you sort of look up, sort of following the chain, you can briefly just make out what appear to be some like shapes moving about, sort of halfway between you and the island, but they're no more than like specks high up in the sky. You can't really make out what's going on. Perhaps it's just a flock of birds. Who knows?
Yeah. Probably like distant echoes of sounds, but nothing really conclusive. Yeah, they're okay up there. I hope the plan is going well. I'm not going to let them down. One thing they can say about Yoshida, he's good at getting red jet explosions to go off.
Okay, not a problem. What's your plan to get to the chain and put your explosive on?
How much distance is there from this rooftop to where...
You're about 10 foot away.
Okay. So, what Yoshida is going to do is he's going to tie the explosive to himself.
Okay.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna use myself as...
That's right, you're getting session on the raft, I understand.
Right, and I'm going to activate my Black Jade wing tattoos.
Okay.
And Yoshida's going to jump up as high as he can. Maybe like something like 50 feet up and attach the bomb.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. You activate your tattoos. Do you have to make an activation roll or spend a
I
fate
have to use a fate point.
Okay, so drop your fate point into the center pool.
Yeah. Okay. Give me
Okay.
a second.
You activate your black jade tattoos. These black jade sort of tribal wings flow out from your shoulders, lifting you up into the air. However, as you move across the sort of distance between you and the chain, you notice, because you sort of jump and then activate your tattoos,
Yep.
You notice as you activate the tattoos, the army unit literally goes, and its head moves up to look directly at you.
What?
You see it sort of hunker down a bit as though it's tensing to run or perhaps jump or something, as you sort of grab onto the chain as you cross the distance.
So I've got the chain.
Yeah, you're hanging onto the chain. You've got the red jade explosive sort of attached to your belt. You've still got your wings out. You've just seen this army unit look up and it's tensing to perhaps jump up at you.
Okay. So what she's going to do is going to wrap his legs around the chain as tightly as he can. With one hand, he's going to start attaching the bomb from his chest.
Okay.
And with the other hand, he's readying his black tattoo. I don't know if you can ready an action in Jade Punk, but if the thing looks like it's coming for him, he's going to activate. Or he's preparing it.
Make an engineering roll to successfully attach the explosive.
Do I take a minus because I'm one-handed?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because you've effectively got your tattoo, so it's not like you're going to fall to your death if...
Yeah.
Not a problem.
My luck is going to run out soon.
You attach the red jade tattoo. You set the primer. It's all good to go. You just got to trigger it. Not a problem.
I thought doesn't Daisuke have the detonator? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, as the chief said, you could roll to create an advantage for something like ready for anything or braced for impact or something like that.
Yep. Well, like an Overwatch type.
Yeah, basically.
Could I do that? Would that be like a fighter?
That'll be a fighter roll. You need a good roll.
Good.
Okay, not a problem. What do you want to call your advantage?
In my sights.
Okay, not a problem. In your sights, because you're keeping an eye on this figure. And as you watch, it propels itself skywards with a mighty clanking of its armoured muscles, and this huge armoured figure hurtles skyward parallel with the chain towards you. As you watch, you see its arms sort of flung out behind it, and you watch as two blades emerge out of its forearms.
Excellent.
And it soars towards you.
Right. Okay. How long do these wings last for, John? I know I can exit an entry scene, but if I'm using them within a scene, how long can I get use out of them?
They don't last for particularly long, to be honest. You know yours are probably going to like disappear very shortly.
Right. Okay. So Yoshida is going to wait just a second or so. Wait until it gets just close enough to get a good shot off with his tattoo.
Okay, not a problem. So that'll be an explorer roll for you versus my fighter roll to see whether you can like, activate it before it actually
In time. Yeah, okay.
Okay, indeed you can. You activate your tattoos, propelling this thing away from you. It smashes into one of the buildings at the side of the chain, pretty much caving in the side of one of the buildings or the upper floors of the buildings, and disappears under a cloud of dust and crumbling masonry. You can hear the sound of it moving underneath, and you see these bits of masonry moving as it's obviously trying to heave itself out of it.
Now Yoshida's got a predicament here. He doesn't know how long it's been up there. If they've gone up, if the jade explosion goes off, he can deal with it. But if he doesn't deal with this thing, it could just knock the explosion off, and then the thing stays.
Very true.
So he's going to have to deal with this thing. So, assuming I can still use my wings for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
What Yoshida is going to do is going to dive off of the chain, drawing his wakizashi, and he's going to try and impale this creature in a knockout blow.
Okay, not a problem. Make your fighter roll.
Do I gain an advantage because it's not expecting this? Like it's like a... No. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to invoke an aspect because I don't want to mess this up.
Okay, what aspect are you invoking?
Wrong place, right time. He shouldn't be faffing around on a chain surrounded by the city guard, but he is.
Okay,
And now's his time for him to make a difference.
I'm just going to stick my fate points back on since this is a different scene.
Okay.
Okay, move your fate point into the centre pot. And
Okay.
you're going to give yourself a +2, I presume?
Yep.
Okay, I will likewise give myself a +2 for my protect and serve.
Oh. Goody.
You can hear the pneumatic sound of the muscles of the armour unit moving in the background there.
Just looks identical or very similar to the one that we found.
Indeed. As you launch yourself down and you land next to it, there's a sudden explosion of masonry as it literally like throws off with a slightly mechanical sort of roar as it throws off this masonry. You can just about make out the shape of the pilot inside this armour unit as this dust and these stones go flying everywhere, and you find yourself standing confronted by this 7-foot tall armour unit troop with a blade on the end of each of its forearms.
Okay. So Yoshida is going to try and spin out of its attack range and perform some kind of back stab with his wakizashi.
Okay, so
Using his nimble feet if he can.
So you're effectively going to try and dodge its first attack, is that correct?
Yarp.
Okay, not a problem.
Now since it's attacking in melee, I do get my +2, correct?
Indeed. Make your explorer roll to dodge.
Do I just get it's just a +2 added onto the result, isn't it? Yeah. I always mess this up.
Okay, not a problem. With almost rhythmic moves, you backflip out of the way of this slice of its sword as it lunges towards you. However, you now find yourself with your feet literally on the edge of this ruined upper floor of this building.
Yeah. I like the idea that as it comes in for the swing, Yoshida sort of jumps up onto the sword and then up over.
And indeed, that's what happens. You both face each other from opposite ends of this roof. You can see again it's sort of hunkering down as though the sort of like metallic muscles of the armor trooper tensing, ready to attack again. Can you make me an explorer roll, please, Rashid?
Yep. So that'll be a 7 if it's attacking.
That's fine.
If it's something else.
A 7 is all fine. Mm. There's a series of what sound like sharp cracking noises from down below in the street, and what appeared to be several gunshots ping off the masonry nearby. As you glance down, you can see the guard patrol that were patrolling around have sort of gathered in the street below, and they're aiming their red jade firearms up at you and like trying to shoot you while you're on the edge of this roof.
Okay. That's annoying. Right. Okay. So, can I create an advantage to basically distract this creature so when I attack it, I get a better chance to penetrate its armor?
You can indeed. You need a good roll.
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use my tattoo. As I'm moving around, I'm going to use my tattoo and shoot out my tattoo to hit some masonry in the building to fall on top of its head and sort of confuse it for a second as I'm spinning, and then go for the...
That sounds like it'll be a fight to roll to create that advantage.
Yeah.
Okay, indeed, you collapse a sizable chunk of the masonry that remains, and it falls onto the head of this armor troop. You see it stagger forward a little bit as it's hit on the back of the head by this huge chunk of falling detritus, and you have created your advantage. It is dazed and confused.
Alright, I'm now going to go in further. Basically trying to find a chink in its armor and just take it out in one blow if I can.
Okay, make your attack roll.
Because I need to get out of here before this thing goes off. I'm going to invoke another fate point to re-roll that.
Okay.
And the fate point I'm going to invoke is my portrayal. That I am not just any old fire. I'm a crusading Jianghu with strange black tattoos who has faced creatures far worse than this, and no doubt will again.
Okay, spend your fate point to make your re-roll.
Boom. And I obviously will click tag my free invoke of my aspect. My advantage.
Okay. So you've got an extra +2, so you will have inflicted a couple of hits of stress on it. You score a glancing blow on the armor unit. It takes half a step back, although it doesn't appear to be majorly damaged.
Okay.
And then, obviously, it returns its attack.
All right.
And I will spend a fate point for my Servant Protect to give me a +2, making that a +5.
Okay. Right, so I still get my technique advantage, don't I, for this attack? Just still in like melee range, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. So I've got a +6, just enough.
Okay, I will spend another fate point to add another +2.
I will invoke my inciting incident. A dance so good it is now forbidden.
Okay, spend your fate point.
To get out the way. Oh, I shouldn't have clicked that. There we go.
Okay, not a problem. You nimbly flip out of the way just as it smashes one of its swords into the ground where you were standing with a mighty blow that would have no doubt cleaved you in two had it struck you.
Alright. Is there any of the guards' guns lying around?
Now all the guards are down in the street below, sort of shooting up at you.
Okay.
Speaking of which.
I just made that worse for myself. I have to avoid this as well, right?
Yeah, make an explorer roll.
Okay.
You duck down behind a large chunk of the ceiling that has fallen in, and you feel it shudder as the back of it is riddled with bullets.
Right.
Okay, I'm now going to jump briefly back to Mifune and Daisuke on the floating island.
Daisuke, can you see any white jade? Come on.
Okay, I
Stand by.
look around.
Okay, the only white jade you can see around is one of the sort of like the pallets, the slabs that they're using to transport the masonry and the timber about. A lot of obviously the construction workers are sort of stopped and they're sort of looking in the direction of this swirling combat now.
How big a slab are we talking?
It's about 10 foot by 15.
Oh, God. Okay.
It has like a large like handle at one end, obviously for someone to like push it.
Okay. Well, there's that, but it obviously needs to be a lot smaller.
Alright, I can handle that. Come on. I grab the lacerated, punctured, and crushed jugular Daisuke.
Okay, you pretty much haul this ragged scrap of a person along as like Daisuke's trying to protest, but he's like.
I just grab you and we head over there. Oh God. We head over to the slab, and if I make it there, I will just drop you and try to destroy the slab by punching it to death.
Okay, as you get near, there's like obviously the worker who was like pushing it. It's like, whoa, what are we doing? Whoa!
I'm so sorry. Thank you. Bye. I tip the stuff off, put it down, raise my hand in the air, look down at it, and I'd like to create a scholar advantage of pinpoint its weakness.
Okay, make a roll. That's absolutely fine. You can see that it appears when this slab was actually tempered, since it was obviously done using an industrial process rather than being carefully handcrafted, you think that if it was hit sort of dead center, it may fracture some smaller splinters of the white jade off.
Alright, and I punch down into it.
Okay. You punch down into the center and literally it splits down the center, and a couple of small shards about the size of a fist sort of fly off where you've hit it and sort of land.
Alright, I pick up a small shard, give it to Daisuke, get in a fighting stance, just call them right now.
Maybe you should talk to them.
You can see the city guard who was stood about to sort of running and closing in on your position.
Do the calling now.
Okay, I install the white jade, which I'm assuming takes like seconds.
Oh yeah, you've pretty much set it up so you can slot it in like a battery.
Damn battery. Oh, I put it the wrong way around. Okay, I
shake it a bit and push it back in.
I call them up.
Okay, as you sort of lock onto the signal that are you actually calling the people, or are you trying to sort of send the remote signal to blow up the?
What was it
both?
that Mifune wanted? Okay, both. Okay, then I'll do both.
Okay, what message are you sending to Yoshida and Banban?
We're under
Wait,
attack.
they have devices?
No, that's why they can't send a message back. However, what this does is it controls air currents to send a message. So you can send a message to them because you know where they're going to be, roughly. But they can't send one back, so you can basically send them a message and then send the signal.
We're under attack.
It's fine, we can get out of here. That doesn't matter.
Okay, what then?
Just have the bombs explode and call the air fleet. Tell them about this.
I have the detonator.
Well, just call the air fleet then.
I'm not a receptionist.
Okay,
Really?
you're sending a
Yeah,
message.
for the Iron Fleet.
Basically, you're sending a message north, hoping that the Arum fleet will somehow pick it up. What message are you sending?
What do you think, Mifune?
We have the tell them we Tohokubo no Shiro research facility is about to float into the air. They can capture it.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, you send that message as a brief distortion of the air, and then what looks like almost like a tiny sort of transparent tornado sort of disappears off in a northern direction from the broadcasting device.
All right, let's get out of here.
Okay, you're sending the signal to activate the bombs, Daisuke?
Mhm.
Okay, you send the signal. Meanwhile, back with Yoshida, fighting away on the rooftop. Having already planted your first bomb, and this being your second, where you've been sort of held up.
Okay.
As you're fighting on this rooftop, you suddenly hear from up above you near the chain, you're a boop, boop, boop. And as you look up, you can see a tiny sort of like glow start to pulse through the red jade bomb that you attached to the chain.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So, what Shida's going to do, he takes a look at that and he smiles. You know what could kill one of these things? An extremely heavy chain. So, what Yoshida's going to try and do is bring as much of this building down onto this creature as he can and hope that the chain finishes off the job.
Okay, how are you planning to bring the building down?
A lot of black jade tattoos and spinning about and getting, in fact, if I can, for it to help me with it by attacking me and me getting out the way and it smacking into the walls, me jumping around it, doing both if possible.
Okay, make me an explorer roll.
Is this a defensive one?
Yeah.
Just in case for my... oh, no. I have to do that again, sorry. I messed up my thing.
Okay, no problems, roll it again.
Yep, sorry. So, it's the same. So, 6 for defense.
Okay, not a problem. As it dives towards you several times, you dodge out of the way, almost leading it to smash into the remaining supports of the building. You feel a tremor running through the building as the whirring and the grinding of the armor unit's gears sounds as it continues to charge towards you. A high-pitched whistling emanating from it.
Alright. So yeah, Shield uses tattoos, bringing down more masonry, trying to distract it from what's about to happen if you can.
Okay, make me an explorer roll to see whether you can get yourself out in time. There's no doubt you can bring the building down given the damage that's been done to it. Can you escape before it collapses on you, though? Indeed you can. You lash out with your black jade tattoos against the already weakened supports of the building, and it crumbles, crashing down.
Can I do one of those like ridiculous things you see in like some of the martial art movies, where as the masonry is like falling as rain, like Ishida's sort of stepping off the masonry, going upwards out of the building?
Not a problem, indeed you can. You run up several pieces of falling masonry, jumping from collapsing support beams to a huge falling piece of brick, and then leaping towards the roof of the adjoining building. You grab on with your hands, sort of hanging from the side of this adjoining building as the one you were previously on collapses, burying this armor unit beneath it, and a huge cloud of dust billows out into the street. The city guard look as though they're about to point their guns at you as you're sort of hanging, sort of pretty much an open target from this building. Then there's this tremendous explosion from up above you, and this huge weight of chain falls down, the links clanging as they hit the floor, and the guards scatter into the surrounding streets to avoid this huge falling piece of metal.
Obviously, Yoshida will try and get out of the way.
Of course, yeah, that's not a problem. The sound is replicated by several other explosions that take place. You would assume, Yoshida, that on the other chains. Then you hear what appears to be a sort of grinding or creaking sound, incredibly loud, that seems to echo throughout the streets. Then as you watch, the island that was tethered to the ground previously slowly starts to rise up into the air as the last of the chains, the largest of the chains that was holding it down, fractures and breaks, and the island, free of its restraint, begins to drift up into the air.
Beautiful.
At this point, we jump back to Mifune and Daisuke.
I grab Daisuke, activate my white jade tattoos, and fly off there.
Okay. As the island begins to lift into the sky, slowly but gathering speed now that it's free of the restraining chains, Mifune grabs you, Daisuke, which obviously is quite painful given your fragile state, and then you feel these winds again lift you up off the island and carry you into the air.
Sit down.
Where are you heading, Mifune?
I'm just heading to a random place in the city.
Okay, not a problem. You just pick a random spot in the city and drop yourself down as carefully as you can, Daisuke being in something of a fragile state. The two of you land on the cobbled streets on the far sort of northwestern end of the Sengoku District.
Alright. It's a walk back to the hideout, but we should be able to make it.
Okay.
I hope so.
What are you doing while this is going on, Yoshida? You managed to haul yourself up onto the building. The guards appear to have scattered for the moment due to the large falling chain.
You're muted!
Whoops, sorry, washing machine in the background, I mute myself. Yoshida will probably head back to the hideout to make sure that they all got back safe. Assuming that the plan went to plan, because the chains have exploded, and I believe I got them. Did I receive the message from Daisuke?
There was no message sent to you from Daisuke.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, yes, they were talking about it. Okay, no problem. I will follow the plan then.
Splendid. You start making your way back towards your own hideout. I believe Mifune was about to suggest some form of self-compel.
Because to banish no. Because every martial artist wants to take this headband from me. It'll be really inconvenient if someone tried to do it right now.
Okay, not a problem. I will give you a fate point for that.
Oh, damn it, John, you know I can't refuse that compel.
I know. Terrible, isn't it?
Just out of nowhere.
I'm such a cruel games master. Okay, no problems. As you're sort of picking Daisuke up and trying to help him walk through the street, you suddenly hear a voice from behind you, a slightly muffled voice say, "Is that the Legend headband?"
Daisuke, you probably just feel me like step away from you. Would even stumble a little bit. I turn around. Yes, it is.
Okay, you turn around and you see a hooded figure wearing what appears to be a red crow mask.
Where are you going?
Red crow. Interesting.
The figure looks at you for a few moments and then says, "Oh, it's you."
Huh? Do we know each other?
Well, I hope you got my message.
Huh?
I wasn't expecting you to meet me for another evening, but
oh shit! Fuck! Shit! It's you.
the figure nods.
Are you challenging me for the headband?
Well, I was going to, after all. Surely everyone knows the legend of the appropriately named legend headband. Only the
Hey.
only the best martial artists, the most supreme practitioners of the art, are reputed to have carried the headband. It has a long, bloody, and terrible history.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe we can perhaps postpone our duel for the time being.
Oh, we do have time.
Okay. In which case, the Crimson Tengu steps forward and says, "Very well. If that is your wish."
Always happy to defend my title.
Okay. Not a problem. So, for this, we will use the dueling system. Can you remember how that works?
Yes. Come on, all legend headband fights are duels to the death.
As you wish, says the Crimson Tengu in a slightly amused voice. Okay, so as you know, for a duel, it's a series of contests. In this case, using the fighter skills.
Okay.
So it's basically a straight roll-off between me and yourself. The winner gets a success. They can be offset by taking consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would care to make your fighter roll.
Rules question first.
Of course.
Does my stress is not victory points, right?
No.
Or anything? Okay. Alright. So yeah, I strike at them.
Okay. With an appropriately legendary roll for the beginning of this battle for the legend headband.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Left hand just like strikes right out at the face of this person.
Okay, not a problem. I will take a mild consequence to reduce that by 1, so you'll only get the 1 victory.
I know it doesn't. I know there's no stress, but can I roll to use my advantage, my asset? So they'll have to increase the severity.
I don't see why not. Yeah. Well, what I'll say is, if you're successful, that gives you another victory.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Okay, not a problem.
I keep knowing I need to get a +4 and rolling a +4 instead of a. Alright.
Okay, so you've pretty much almost taken out the Crimson Tengu in a 1. They're still just about in the fight. So would you care to narrate how your first attack takes place?
Okay, I go to strike them, and it looks like I'm about to punch them in the face, but it's kind of like I accidentally, well, not accidentally, I turn and punch them in the shoulder, so they probably misjudged their defense based on the trajectory of my attack. I hit them really hard in the shoulder, and they like stumble back a little bit, and then I get back into my stance and do the come over here gesture.
And indeed, that's what happens. The Crimson Tengu lets out a gasp as they're driven back, and being as you're quite close in when you deliver this punishing blow, you can tell, given that you're now slightly nearer, that the gasp the Crimson Tengu lets out is a distinctly female voice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Crimson Tengu drops down into a practiced stance, sizes you up for a moment, and then attempts to make an attack. Let me just refresh my fate points. This is a different scene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will spend a fate point for my schooled in the martial arts aspect to reroll that.
And I finally get to use my kung fu is stronger than yours.
Indeed.
So I get a +4 to fight when my opponent invokes a martial arts aspect.
Indeed you do. And with your second move, the duel is almost over before it's begun. Would you care to narrate how the Crimson Tango is defeated?
Okay, so can you describe how she attacked me?
Okay,
Just so I can try and respond.
she leaps forward, 1 foot outwards, effectively trying to like flying kick you in the side of the head.
Okay, so I am in my fighting stance, and I turn and I grab her leg and throw it to the ground. So so she's lying on the ground, and then I'm standing by her head, and I just like get into a normal. I fold my arms and just stand there. I just look at her and faceplant, and I just spin around, kicking her in the head.
Okay, she spins through the air and lands face down on the road. She gives a slight cough and holds up a hand towards you and says, "Enough. I concede you are worthy to wear the headband."
Thanks, that means a lot. Oh, that was fun.
She slowly starts pulling herself, obviously in some pain, to her feet. You notice as she does so, she casts a look upwards to where this like island's still sort of like floating up higher into the sky.
Oh yeah, we did that. Pretty cool, right?
Indeed, a most noteworthy achievement. As she's saying that, she reaches up to the sort of side of her face and unclasps this red crow mask and pulls it down. You see a young, dark-skinned woman's face beneath as she takes the mask off. Sort of braided hair falls down. She holds out a gloved hand towards you. And she says,
I shake her hand.
Says, "My name is Altan Higomi."
Altan, interesting name. You look Gahul.
I was adopted.
Interesting.
You might have heard of my father. He was a winner of the many times of the Four Winds tournament.
Well, when I was younger, I kept up with that sort of thing. So if I was 5 years younger, I might have been able to guess who he was based on my knowledge of previous Gahul champions and your age.
Indeed, make me a scholar roll.
Oh no, I don't know.
Oh,
I just said that.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. In which case, she says, "My father was the reigning champion, Surzan of Gahul."
The tiger something style is very, very potent.
Yes, the stone tiger style. It's not a style I've studied myself, but it is one of the more harsh and punishing of the martial arts regimes. But we can talk more of this elsewhere. Do you have somewhere we can go? We can't stand out here in the open. We'll attract too much attention, especially after that duel. Although I will be honest with you, I had hoped to last some time longer than I did.
Oh, don't feel bad. I was trained by the best. And, well, you can come back to our little hideout. Yeah, we were, I guess, about to plan our next move.
She nods and says, starts like reattaching this mask to her face, and then says, as the mask puts on, it sort of muffles her voice and distorts it in an odd way. And then she says, "Well, lead on then."
Alright, come on. Daisuke, follow us. Unless you need help.
I need a bit of help. You were
So I guess with Daisuke hobbling along.
I think apparently only just now noticed you. The Crimson Tango sort of offers you a hand and sort of puts one of your arms over her shoulders to help you to walk through the streets, Daisuke.
Well, I'm glad someone is thinking about the elder people.
As you're walking, the Crimson Tengu looks at you, Mifune, and says, "Where's the other one?"
What other one?
The other one.
Oh, she was helping us blow up some of the chains for the research outpost.
She? No, I'm talking about the man I helped escape from the Arena of Champions.
Is that you're talking about the Yoshida?
Yes, I think that was his name.
No, he should meet us there, I assume. Unless he runs into another flower girl.
She looks puzzled. And you continue walking through the streets. So, assuming that you're all heading back to the hideout, I will fast forward to you all meeting there. Since they've landed quite far away, Yoshida, you arrive there first. And as Mifune and Daisuke come in, you can see Daisuke's in quite a bad way. There's livid bruising around his throat area, and there's numerous cuts and lacerations and what looks to be a fairly deep puncture wound in Daisuke's side. As they come in, you can see that Daisuke appears to be leaning on a cloaked figure who's wearing a red crow mask. Yes, more consequences do go after the scene.
Okay, so I'm fine. Alright. Oh, Yoshi, you arrived. You survived. That's great. You won't believe who I ran into.
Do tell. Who did you run into?
The Crimson Tengu.
The Crimson Tengu?
Yeah.
She just exclaims in disbelief. And you brought him or her here?
The cloaked figure reaches up and detaches the red crow mask, letting it fall to the floor, and you see the familiar face of the dark-skinned woman who helped you escape from the Arena of Champions.
By the 12. I know you.
Oh, you've met. That's cool.
She was there when Batu died. She got me out of the Four Winds tournament. I thought you were a city guard.
Oh,
He was
one of
a
your...
compatriot of mine.
Yeah, that's real interesting.
I was a member of the City Guard, she says. Technically, I still am, but after seeing my father killed in the arena and helping you escape, I decided that I could use my position within the City Guard to...
Batu was your father?
What?
Uh-huh.
I saw Batu die in the arena.
My father is Surzan of Gahul.
Oh, the champion, okay.
My
I saw
father
him.
was Surzan of Gahul.
My condolences.
Obviously, I couldn't work against the government openly, so I adopted the identity of the Crimson Tengu.
Wait a minute. From what my intelligence tells me, the Crimson Tengu was known to be active before then, before the last tournament of the Four Winds.
She nods and says, it's an identity that's been passed on throughout the years. There have been a number of different Crimson Tengus working in the city. I'm simply the latest.
Huh. Ah, that's interesting.
She points at the mask. She points at the mask and says, "It's the name that's important."
It's a symbol. It doesn't matter who wields it.
Indeed, after all, a person can be killed, but symbols cannot be.
This is
Just everyone who knows about them. So, I guess our meeting's going to happen a lot sooner.
It would appear so.
So, what were you going to talk about?
What do you know about Isako Clockworks?
Largest clockwork company, most military contacts seem to be pushing the boundaries of what clockwork engineering can do.
While Mafune's doing this, I'm gonna like grab Daisuke and sort of try and help him sit down and put some bandages on him if I can. So I'm almost laying like a lemon.
Okay.
I instinctively grab the puncture and then see that there's still like bits of blood coming out of it, and my hand's getting all messy.
Easy, easy, Daisuke. Let's put you down here. I'll get some water.
They recently lost a research outpost that was going to be turned into a mass manufacturing plant.
She smiles as you say that. And it says, are you aware that recently they've opened several training facilities where they claim to be taking people in and training them in the arts of the clockwork engineer, they've sold it as giving the poor a chance at an occupation. They built large sort of housing facilities where they house their workers, claiming getting people off the streets, that sort of thing.
How charitable of them.
She leans in a bit closer and says, I have a contact in the government. I don't know his name. I only know the code name Shadow Hand. However, this contact, Shadow Hand, has revealed to me that these training facilities are not all that they appear to be. I've been told that something is being done to the people inside of those training facilities. I don't know what, but they're well guarded, and despite my abilities, I'm only one person. That's why I wanted to seek you out.
Well, you really do work alone?
Normally,
That's
yes.
pretty impressive.
Don't let your easy victory over me in the streets fool you. I'm normally fairly proficient and practiced at taking care of myself.
Oh, I have no doubt about that.
But as I said, I'm only one person. I cannot mount an assault on one of these facilities myself.
How many of them are there?
Currently 3 within this district.
3 within this district? So there are more?
Yes, this district has one of the largest facilities. Well, and she looks and says, it did have one of the largest facilities for the Isako Corporation. I believe they were hoping to make this district their new base, and thus they've set up these training camps around here, hoping that they can make use of the workforce. But as I said, I don't know exactly what's happening to the people in there. I've just been told that something is going on, something untoward.
Well, fish rots from the head, right?
Very true.
So, if we want to put an end to this Isako Clockwork shenanigans, there's one man we need to find.
If you're talking about the chairman of the Isako Corporation, good luck with that. No one's seen him since apparently there was an attempt made on his life at the governor's wedding parade. Since then, he's been in seclusion.
Is had the same thing about the governor. Interesting. Those two do definitely seem like the most powerful men in the city.
Indeed.
Where could they be hiding?
I honestly don't know.
So I suppose we could investigate what's happening in one of these facilities, but it would just be the one facility. Our problem is that we'll need to find a way to deal with all of them.
That's very true, and a lot of the people taken into these facilities are innocent people. If it was a simple matter of destroying the buildings or blowing them up, I could have done that myself.
Has anyone left these training facilities?
Oh yes, a lot of people leave the training facilities once they've completed their training. For all intents and purposes, they're sent back to their normal lives, or they're given apprenticeships in various sponsored places around the city.
So, that's interesting. Have people noticed any changes?
A few of them are said to have been behaving slightly oddly.
Daisuke, if you're feeling able, can you show our friend here what we found in the Kaiyu Empress? Oh, right. I kidnapped the Kaiyu Empress.
What do you need from me?
Higomi's mouth sort of like hanging open as you just made that sort of revelation. He's like,
The metal scorpion? Can you show it to her?
Yeah, okay. You know, ever since that thing stung me, up until the point when I was stabbed by that flying armored soldier, I felt really good.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
she's like peering at this metal scorpion.
we found this inside of her.
I've never seen anything like it.
The Kaiyu Empress whispered, it makes you do things. When we took it out.
Well, earlier I felt really keen to get on with our mission, and I think if I hadn't have been stung, I would have felt less inclined.
Okay, Yoshida, can you please make me a scholar roll?
I certainly can. Where's my scholar right now? It's 3. Awesome. Why are you so dumb, Yoshida? Why are you so dumb?
You don't read.
Okay, not a problem. As you're sort of watching as Daisuke moves out and sort of holds this metal scorpion out, you're not 100% sure. However, you could swear you saw an odd sort of like bulge in his side. It was almost like as Daisuke reached over, you saw sort of like a part of the skin on his side sort of like bulge outwards briefly and then went back to normal.
Oh.
That's not normal.
Says Yoshida.
What isn't?
Something your side, it doesn't look right. Like, it's like you've got an infection, but like an internal one. Like it's bloating up somehow. Did you come into contact with some strange jade when you were on the island?
No.
Like, did the white jade like get inside you and like puncture you or something?
No, it didn't. But I've been stabbed really deep. Obviously, it's gonna infect in some way. Unless you do something about it.
You weren't poisoned, were you? That looks like almost like a poison wound.
I look down at it again. Can I see any sign of it being poisoned?
Okay, you've obviously still got this sort of this large rent. Mifune, just to bring you back up to date, you've suddenly Yoshida's been like peering at Daisuke as he passed this metal scorpion over, and he's gone, oh, that's not normal. He's like, oh, I think your wound's infected or something. It doesn't look right. And Daisuke's like looking down at this large sort of tear in his side.
We need to get you some medical attention.
Wait.
I was
Is it
hoping for
the
some
wound you
this.
got from the armor units or
Yeah.
the scorpion?
But it seems to have revealed it looks like the wound from the mechanical thing has revealed some kind of internal bulge that was there already.
As you're sort of tentatively sort of like probing the wound with your fingers, Daisuke, because like I say, it's quite a significant sort of rent down your side. You feel something like hard just underneath your skin, and then as you sort of press it, it moves.
Something just moved. Something hard. I think there's another one in there.
Another one of what?
One
So
of those.
what, like laid an egg in you?
I don't know. Just
Are you telling me you're pregnant, Daisuke?
fuck off. Just get this thing out.
Well, we could let it grow, and then experiment, and then take a look at the live one, be able to observe it.
With the last bits of my strength, I grab Mifune by the neck and just go, no.
I'm going to take that as a yes. As I knock your hand away and take a step back.
Daisuke is not an experiment.
Higomi, the Crimson Tengu, has taken out a knife from her robes and sort of almost holding it in front of her to like ward off whatever evil's befallen Daisuke. She sort of takes a couple of steps towards you, Daisuke, and says,
Oh,
what is this? What's going on?
I think
well,
there's
the Metal
another
Scorpion and the Kaiyu Empress laid an egg.
I think she's got an infection from whatever that creature was.
We don't know if it's an egg, but there's something in there, and it's about the same size as a scorpion. So, logically speaking, from what we know, yes, it is one of those.
Okay, we need to get in contact with... Is the doctor called Tanaka?
No, Tanaka is my boss.
No, the
Tachibana?
the doctor we rescued ages ago. My brain can't remember his name.
Dr. Tachibana.
They're
Tachibana,
like three-
yeah.
There are many doctors in Kaosao.
There are many doctors in Kaosao. We need somebody.
No, there are like 3 named doctors that we've encountered.
We need a doctor who's not going to freak. Well, who is going to be able to do this quietly.
We could just pull it out.
Well, we tried pulling out. You nearly killed the Empress.
Higomi holds up her hand. She's wearing
no.
the sort of metal gauntlets that you would expect from a city guard. And she says, if it's near the surface, I can reach in and pull it out.
Well, you might as well do that.
Only with Daisuke's permission. This is his life we're dealing with here.
Higomi looks at you, Daisuke.
I've never seen you before until now, but get this thing out while it's still near the surface. If it goes any deeper,
She
then
looks
it would
at
be definitely laying eggs.
She looks at Mifune and Yoshida and says, "Hold her down." Sorry, hold him down.
Do we have any green jade around just to give her some kind of,
I don't know. Do you have any green jade lying around?
It's our hideout.
Well, I might have some left from one Tachibana gave me for my
I'll
leg.
just make you up a quick drink or some of it, just to give you...
Higomi's like, we don't have time to brew any jade tinctures. If this thing's getting deeper, as you say, we need to get it out now.
Alright, I just throw Daisuke on top of the table. Alright, do it. Do the thing.
Hold their legs, Yoshida.
Yoshida will do so. Steady.
Okay, Higomi sort of raises a gauntleted hand, puts it against the huge rent in your side, Daisuke, and says, "This is really going to hurt."
I know, just get on with it.
And she literally like shoves her hand into the wound. Obviously, it's incredibly painful. However, Yoshida and Mifune are holding you down. After a few moments, Higomi pulls out her hand, and you can see something metallic sort of wriggling about. It's trying in vain to sting her, but obviously she's got these metal gauntlets on.
How in the fuck did Aisaku Clockworks make something like this?
She's sort of holding it up. You can see like her hands sort of moving as this thing's like thrashing about, but she's holding on to it.
I get like a metal box. Put it in here.
She shoves it into the metal box, quickly slams the lid and pulls her hand away. The box is like...
I put the latch back on, fasten it.
Yep, not a problem. The box is still sort of like jumping about a little bit, but it seems to be contained. Occasionally you see what appears to be a sharp spike sort of like go and puncture through it. As this thing is presumably trying to sting its way out of this box.
Oh, run out
That
of
thing is
energy.
wicked.
I just toss it across the ground.
Not a problem.
So that's interesting. They lay eggs in people. Or egg. Oh, maybe there are more. But...
Do you want something to drink, Daisuke?
Of course I do.
I'm gonna get you a drink. I'm gonna get something him alcoholic.
I just
Strong.
want something metallic
I'm gonna-
being pulled out of my flesh. Of course I want a drink.
I'm trying to lighten the mood. You've just had half your side ripped out.
Yes, well, you keep trying to lighten the mood.
Get me some sake.
That's not a problem, Yoshida. You can easily get some sake.
Yeah, I'll pour it. I'll pour it into his mouth if he wants. I don't think he's probably moving much right now.
So, Higumi, I'm going to take a wild guess and assume that the Isaku Clockworks training facilities are infecting people with these.
Yes, because if it was the scorpion from the Empress, it's in my hand, so surely the scorpion would have been in my arm or something rather than in my side where that wound was.
Hmm.
Higumi's looking a little bit shell-shocked, to be perfectly honest. She hasn't taken her eyes off this like box that you've like thrown on the floor. He says, again, she says under breath, I've never seen anything like this before in all my days.
Well, neither had I until last night.
Oh, it's my first time seeing a live one. They are really aggressive.
I had no idea that clockwork was that it could do something like this.
I'm not sure it is clockwork. The liquid in it. That black liquid.
Black liquid?
Something to do with black jade, maybe? I don't know, I'm not a jade technician. Nor a black jade technician.
Would I know for definite whether those things were clockwork or not?
Okay, make me a scholar roll.
Yes.
Would Yoshida know that liquid is corresponding to the essence he took out of the mechanical creature sessions ago? I'm not using the words essence of Adu.
Since I'm a jade
very similar.
Yeah, very
Since I'm a
similar.
jade tech mechanic, I would not possibly roll so terribly.
Okay, spend your fate point.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna re-roll.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Oh,
better.
wow.
Okay, this thing from what you've seen in the previous one that you looked at, and obviously now this one's been removed for you, it does seem to be mostly composed of clockwork. However, it's done on such an intricate scale. I mean, the sort of the gears and the tiny components of it are so small that it's almost inconceivable that like a human craftsman could make an item of such like delicacy.
So did you learn anything? Do you know anything?
Well, yes. It doesn't mean I understand it any further, though. It's incredibly intricate design. If you had someone just making it with clockwork components, it would be impossible to make something like this of such advanced technology. There's something else.
Okay, well,
It's black
amongst
jade.
your
It's always black jade when it's weird.
Or, amongst all your crazy stories, you did mention a blood sorceress.
I did, yes. I did not know her for that long, unfortunately.
No, but she gave my legs back.
She did. She was a kind and compassionate woman, even though she was not happy with me for a transgression in session.
You call blowing up the Session District transgression.
It going me suddenly. It looks at you and she's like, "What?
Oh, yes,
It's a long
responsible.
story.
That was you?"
Yes, it was Yoshida.
I was trying to save the people of Session, but I was
Good
waylaid.
job.
Yes, I
Huh?
know.
It's more complicated than that. We encountered something while we were there.
A creature, unlike anything we'd ever met.
Something that Kawachich had mentioned. And blood calls to blood.
Something that she feared.
She looks a little bit confused. So I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, but there's nothing I can do about what happened to Sheshin now.
Neither can I. But we did just screw the governor over majorly. So today is a good day for our efforts against him.
I guess.
You did get the call off to our
Yep.
associates.
Well, not really your associates, unless you know something I don't. But
Well, they're not our enemies.
that doesn't make an associate. But interesting. We have disrupted the governor's activities. Put a monkey wrench in his plans, I think.
How do we stop clockwork scorpions? That's a bigger issue.
Is this the governor's plan to infest the city with clockwork scorpions, or is the Osaku Corporation the real threat here?
Higomi's sort of rubbing her head, and she says, "It doesn't make any sense. The governor already controls the city. Why would he need these things?"
Oh,
Because it's an instrument of his control.
I think actually we've stumbled upon a coup.
Can I take a look again at the first scorpion eye, the one that isn't
The deactivated
moving around
one.
in a box?
Yep.
Yes.
I'm
problem.
not disagreeing with you, Mifune, but that's a mighty leap of logic there.
I want to
Well,
try and actually get it open and have a look at it.
Okay, not a problem. Make me an engineer roll.
It's definitely an interesting one.
Serpent.
well,
Oh, come on.
serpently?
I haven't got any fate points either.
You are
But-
kind of bleeding out on the table, so
Fucking roll.
I just imagine you like hunched over the table, bleeding out. Oh, guys, I gotta do this research.
But I want to know.
Well, Yoshida, if you look at the facts, it's clearly obvious that this is what's happening. And
are the facts based on evidence or
John, can I do I normally don't like this kind of thing, but can I do a scholar roll to see if it's at least reasonable?
Yep.
Like, basically, obviously I shouldn't get a lot of information, but just at least if that's a plausible thing with no more obvious.
Okay, so what is it you're trying to suppose?
Whether Isaku Clockwork is actually planning like a coup, or they have some other purpose.
You think, assuming that these creatures are being manufactured by Isaku and they are controlling people, as the Emperor said, assuming that's accurate, then yes, of course, these things could be used to control a populace, to control a government, anyone they were implanted in. Of course, it can be used for a coup.
so if we stop this, then we're in a way helping the governor. This is getting a bit.
Well, why choose the lesser evil?
Higomi's like, I need to speak with my contact and let him know about this.
Do you have a way for us to contact you if we need to, though? If the Crimson Tengu is an ally of the people of Kaosao, then we could definitely use your assistance in future endeavours.
If I were not an ally of the people, I would have left you to have been captured in the Arena of Champions.
True, but people's motivations aren't always what they seem.
Very wise words. I know where you are now. If you wish me to contact you here, I can do.
That would be great.
I'm very good at not being seen.
I really hope she leaves dramatically.
She turns around and says, I'll speak to Shadow Hand and see what I can find out about these things.
Much appreciated.
And she turns and walks out.
Well, that was interesting. Well, I'm going to go talk to the ghost and confirm things with them.
The ghost?
As-
Oh, the old people.
No.
Oh, was that some kind of joke?
I step out and pause for a moment.
As you sort of stepped out of the building, you can just see sort of Higomi like walking off down the street back to you.
Looks like Daisuke needs some time to recover. Someone better watch him. And I'm gonna run outside, find an alleyway or a phone booth to then fly away from.
Okay, not a problem. You activate your white jade tools and find yourself whisked up into the air, leaving Daisuke in the care of Yoshida. Where are you planning on heading?
I'm going to head to a place near where the Carousel Interesting Times office is located.
Okay.
Then I'm going to make my way in, head down the stairs to the basement level, where a friend of mine is.
Okay, not a problem. You see the Interesting Times, the presses are running at full steam, given everything that's been going on. In fact, as you walk through, you see a young man running in, sort of waving a piece of parchment about, and he shouts, he says, "Stop the presses! Someone's just attacked the floating island. They've broke the tethers. We've got to get a late night edition out."
And while people are distracted by that insane declaration, I'm going to try to slip down.
Okay. You head down to the sort of basement level of it, and eventually you find yourself in front of a small office that's sort of in the back end of the building. It appears almost forgotten about. There's huge boxes full of files sort of piled up either side of the door, and as you head nearby, you can see that someone has effectively, originally it used to have like janitor's closet written on it, and then someone's like scored a line through it, and it says Chan Attle's office underneath it.
Knock on the door. Hello.
Okay, a female voice from inside says, "Who's there?"
It's me, Mifune. Remember me? I was interested in all you.
Yes, I remember you. What can I do for you?
I just heard something completely insane, and I was wondering if you could help confirm it.
Come in.
I walk inside, and like everything's probably like cramped with like filing cabinets and that kind of thing.
There's files everywhere. There's like noteboards on the walls. It's literally almost like a maze formed of these huge boxes of files. You can just glimpse the sort of brown hair of Chan Attles seated at a desk behind several teetering towers of files. There's numerous sort of old newspaper stories like fixed to the wall. You see one of them says, "Is this the ghost of Sheshin?" and it's got like a blurry sort of drawing of a sort of silhouetted figure on it.
I find it's impossible to move around gracefully, so I kind of have to like turn around and shut the door and realize that there's not really much room for me to get in. Okay. Well, I just heard from someone that people leaving from the Isaku trading facilities appear to have changed. As if something nefarious is going on in there. I was wondering if you and all your brilliant and creative theories had noticed any pattern to confirm this.
Well, I've had and she starts like rifling through these filing sort of boxes in front of her. Well, I have had some reports of people behaving oddly. Look here, she pulls out a file and puts it down on the table in front of you. She says, "Now you see here, this is an accounting of a young man, a Mr. Shugihara Kazuhiko, a fairly poor man, not great in his monetary means. Yes, he was taken in by one of the Isaku training camps, and he was sent out to work as an apprentice with a reputable firm. And 2 days ago, he walked out into traffic and was killed."
Wow, you can't cross these busy streets of Calcel so carelessly.
That's the thing, she says. She sort of lifts up this report and shakes it about. Says, according to the man who was driving the car that hit him, he literally just stepped out in front of the cart.
Interesting, but that doesn't prove anything in of itself.
She starts like, rifling through lots of other papers and says, but that's not the only account of people behaving strangely that I've had. I mean, most of the people in the interesting times have pushed it aside. Tell me, did you know that people have actually been disappearing from their homes in the Sengoku District?
Really?
Really? Now, no one will believe me when I try and bring this story up, because the thing is, the people always reappear 3 days later, and they seem fine and no worse for wear. So no one's pursued it, since after all, if they're only missing for 3 days and they come back and they claim to have, they all have perfectly plausible reasons for why they've been missing. But it definitely seems odd.
Interesting. Now, do you find out about this before they reappear?
I have in a couple of cases, yes. That's what originally drew me to the story, you see. I know I've got a bit of a reputation for looking into all these strange and weird things. I know no one else really believed that there was a ghost of Sheshin when that story was doing the rounds, but I still thought there was something into it. But you've seen what that's got me. I'm banished down here to the basement.
Well, I find your information helpful. And do you know anywhere where someone has disappeared but has yet to reappear?
Oh yes, there was a. Where did I put that piece of paper? There was a. I did have a report of someone disappearing recently. It was a young man. Where did I put that paper? Oh yes, Kojima Muniaka.
Kojima. Okay. Do you know where he lives?
Well, yes, he lives here in the Sengoku District. He was a mason.
Do you know the exact location?
Well, yes, I've got his address somewhere. Here you go. And she passes you a piece of paper across.
All right. Thanks. If I find more information on this, I'll be sure to let you know.
Yes. Look, I know there's something behind all the strangeness that's going on here. There's some sort of pattern. I can't quite put my finger on it. But if I can just get that one story that'll blow this thing wide open, I can vindicate everything that I've been trying to work for all these years. I can show the people of this rag that I work for that there is a truth and it is out there.
Alright. Well, yet again, I have to thank you for the information, and I give her like a wad of jade script. You keep up the good work, because I of course know that she's not only she's very underpaid for what she does.
She takes the jade script up. She's like, oh, thank you. This is appreciated. It'll help with my investigations. But the real thing I need that story.
I'll be sure to help out.
And I need proof that can't just be swept under the carpet by people who don't want to see what the truth is.
Proof. I'll be on the lookout for it. I wave goodbye and I leave, and I begin to make my way back to the hideout.
Okay, not a problem.
Using the usual method of flying somewhere nearby.
Okay, not a problem. You arrive back at the hideout where Yoshida is still ministering to Daisuke. Daisuke, if you're there, if you wish to make another engineering roll, sufficient time has now passed for you to do that.
All right, come on, dice. That's better.
Okay, not a problem. You've pretty much, it's taken you a long time because obviously you're still in some quite considerable pain, but you've managed to take apart this deactivated metal scorpion, and as you do, you see it appears to be a very intricate clockwork device built around a tiny nugget, no more than that big, of a strange black stone with odd sort of red marbling running through it.
Red marbling. Am I able to prize it out?
Yeah, you've pretty much dismantled it, and you
Okay.
just like lift it out. Like I say, it's about the size of a sort of large marble.
Okay.
It looks, to be honest, it looks a little bit like black jade, but like I say, it's got this strange sort of
Yeah.
bright red marbling running through it.
Are you sure you want to touch that with your bare hands, Daisuke? I wouldn't.
I'm only looking at it for a few seconds.
In fact, as he says, Joshi, you want to touch that with your bare hand, suddenly you find yourself no longer lying on this table staring at this metal scorpion. You're standing in what appears to be a small village. It's a very primitive design, you know, sort of wattle and daub huts, straw for the roofs, etc. You can hear screaming from around you, and as you watch, you see a number of people sort of fleeing in panic. It's as though you're floating sort of disembodied above the scene. You see a number of people running, screaming in panic. They appear to be shouting in some form of language that you're not familiar with. It sounds a bit like Tuyangan, but it's not quite right. At least not like the Tuyangan you're used to hearing. Then you watch as these troops wearing a sort of ancient style of armour that, again, you're not familiar with, ride in on horses and begin to systematically butcher these people.
Where am I? What is this place?
Obviously,
You're in the hideout, Daisuke.
Yoshida and
Yeah.
Mifune, you can hear Daisuke's sort of side of this conversation, although as far as you're concerned, he's just sort of like lying on the table looking at this sort of strange like marble.
Told you not to touch it.
Rock.
Am I able to...
Can you get him to snap out of it?
Am
I don't
able
want
go-
to. He's in a weakened condition. I'll be careful.
Am I able to go up to one of the villagers and ask what the hell is going on?
Okay, as you think about moving forward, you find you are moving forward. I must say you somehow willed yourself to move. The villager
That's interesting.
doesn't appear to actually see you.
Hello? What's happening here?
You can see he's like looking almost like through you with panic on his face, and then he turns around to run, and you hear the sound of these thunderous hoofbeats of these horses racing down towards them.
Okay. Can I work out, well, not whereabouts, but like I have a look at whereabouts this place is, like the terrain, the general views, the vistas.
Okay, make a scholar roll. You'll need to get a superb result.
Nope.
It looks vaguely familiar, but you can't really place it. However, you're sure you remember, as you see the armour of these horse riders as they thunder down on these hapless peasants, you're sure you remember seeing some like ancient scrolls of like describing the Tuyangan people. This seems to be like the sort of armour they wore many hundreds of years ago.
What's Tuyangan got anything to do with this?
What?
Then your vision seems to abruptly shift, and instead of being surrounded by these huts, you're surrounded by the smouldering ruins of these huts, as though like a great deal of time has passed in an instant. And you watch as the soldiers wearing this armour seem to be pushing the dead bodies of these hapless villagers into a large pit that they've dug in the centre of this village.
Meanwhile, Yoshida's like passing his hand between the Daisuke's eyes, kind of waving. You in there, Daisuke?
Why a pit? They've already killed them.
As you
They want
watch,
to
they
burn them.
pile these bodies into this like large mass grave, and they begin to shovel in the dirt on top of them.
Okay, okay, so they're basically trying to bury them.
It seems so.
It's like they just want to pretend that these people never lived.
John,
Indeed. Yeah,
Can
go
I-
ahead.
can I suggest a self-compel?
Go on.
One that was established many sessions ago of blood calls to blood, that as my hand passes near the black jade, I can almost feel a sense of like attraction.
Have a fate point for yourself.
Yay!
Okay, Daisuke, you're sort of staring down at this this mass grave, as it were, and then you're suddenly aware that like Yoshida's standing next to you.
Wow.
As you actually sort of put your hand on Daisuke to sort of say, oh, you know, snap out of this, you're suddenly not in the room either, and you're sort of standing next to Daisuke in this scene I've described. As far as you can see, Mifune, Yoshida's just gone, oh, snap out of it, Daisuke, and the instant his hand like goes on his shoulder, his face sort of falls slack, and he gets this sort of like stare on him as well.
What?
I take the scorpion toy away from them.
What are you doing here?
I don't know. What is this place? Wait, this place looks familiar.
Something Tuyangan, but it's not quite right.
I've been here before. When I touched some black jade in it. I believe, John, was it in the hut in District 17? If I recall, I touched a bit of black jade before. That's why I warned you. It makes you see weird stuff. It makes no sense.
As you're saying this, suddenly, boom, the two of you are back in the room, and you can see that like Mifune's just like taken this like scorpion bits of this like jade that he's obviously been careful not to touch off you.
What are you doing with that? I need it.
I think you've had enough.
No,
Besides, we have investigating to do.
Mifune, give it back.
Something weird was going
clearly
on.
had an adverse effect on you.
No,
I think your mind may be affected.
No, it was the jade. That's perfectly obvious. I touched the jade, forgot about it because it's not the scorpion thing that's doing this.
You just sort of
Jade, it had an adverse effect on you.
She just sort of looking at his own hand at the moment, like, and he can feel like a strange, almost like he can feel his heartbeat in his hand, like a strange kind of twinge. And he turns to Daisuke and said, "Do you reckon there's? It's going to sound strange, but do you reckon there's blood in that black jade? Like I felt my pulse when I touched you.
Well, there could be.
Could that be the red? Is that even possible?"
Well, it is perfectly possible. It's black jade. It's very versatile. But I don't know. It's got a marble texture to it. I thought it was red jade to begin with.
Do you have any like engineering instruments that could chemically test if it's blood?
What?
As you're saying this to say, on the door.
There's always a knock.
I throw the scorpion away.
Okay, yeah, no problem. You put it away and you hear a voice outside the door going, "It's me, Ban Ban, let me in."
Oh, right. I go open the door.
You open the door and Ban Ban, looking a little bit flustered, walks in.
That all went well.
She sees Daisuke, she's like, "Jeez, what happened to you?"
Don't ask, but...
He's pregnant. Or he was pregnant.
What?
With a scorpion.
Okay.
Oh, really?
We've got some jade we need to test. There's some red in it, and we don't know what it is.
Well, I am an expert at red jade.
I don't think it's jade.
Yoshida
not the
is
red
thinking it might be blood, but I don't know.
Blood? What are you talking about?
Just have a look.
She holds her hand out.
Well, have you got a glove or something?
Yes, of course I have. Why?
You don't want to touch it with your bare hands.
Yeah,
she reaches into her belt, pulls a glove on, and holds out her
It
hand.
seems to cause severe hallucinations.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm not sure if these two are themselves right now.
She takes a jade and looks at it seemingly unaffected while she's got the glove on, and she says, "Well, it looks like it doesn't look like any red jade. The formations are all wrong." She reaches inside her belt pouch and she pulls out what appears to be like a sort of extendable monocle, puts it in her eye and extends it out a bit, and then says, "No, the formation of it's all wrong. It's definitely not red jade."
That's what I thought it looked like to begin with.
This is important,
Oh,
if you think about it. If this jade contains blood, then perhaps blood is the key to how they control people.
How does that help us? Of
It's
course.
information we didn't have.
If we don't have any blood, they can't affect us.
That's not what I mean.
Funny.
Understanding how this jade works is part of the solution in finding a way to stop it.
But Mifune, you've been great so far, but you need to let the experts handle this.
Not everything can be solved with a sweaty headband.
No, it can't.
That was a joke. Put your fists down. Okay, I'm done. It wasn't a challenge.
You know, I'm required to defend this.
What do you think it is then, Bam Bam?
Well, I'm no expert, but from the crystal formations inside it, I'd say it's black jade. But I've never seen black jade I've not seen a lot of black jade, but I've never seen any that look like this.
It is black jade because we suffered the same hallucinations that you would get from normal black jade, but...
Well, no one really understands how black jade works. It is rumoured to cause all manner of visions and prophetic abilities. That's what the legends say, anyway.
Hang on a moment. Should we try to perhaps find someone who works with black jade, interrogate them? I know it's rare, but if this was made by the Asako Clockwork Company, surely the head is not the only person who worked with it.
Well, no, they certainly need dedicated jade tech engineers to work the jade. Combining jade with clockwork isn't an exact science. You need some very skilled engineers to do that. Even I've no knowledge of how to really do that. I mean, my own red jade explosives are crude compared to this.
Well, I guess we can do that, but there's... So do you think we should investigate the Isaku? They clearly seem to be planning something.
It's prominent.
Everything does seem to lead to them. So that's
now, I think I have another angle we can investigate. Well, we just heard from the Crimson Tengu, right, that something has been... They've been changed. I went and spoke with a contact, and some people have been disappearing from their homes. I suspect the two might be related.
Do you believe they have somehow become under the sway of these creatures?
Well, people have been leaving their homes and then coming back 3 days later. So, my suspicion is that perhaps they're infecting them with the scorpions, in addition to the training facilities.
Alright.
That sounds very, very likely.
It's possible, says Bamba.
That's the kind of thing...
I know someone.
Hey, when you think about it, Mifune, that banquet we went to was a perfect opportunity to infect people of noble birth.
And yet, in the end, I was
guess.
infected, even though I didn't actually go. I have rather bad luck, it seems.
Yes, I guess you do. But I know someone who's disappeared from their home and is yet to reappear. A mason by the name of Kojima.
I don't suppose you know where he's hiding.
I know his address. We can go look at his house and figure out how he was taken.
Are you in a state to travel, Daisuke?
I don't know. I try standing up.
You can stand. You're a little bit shaky.
Yeah, okay, but... I'll be slow.
Okay, and as you all get ready to head out and investigate this missing mason, that is where I'm going to call an end to this evening's session.
Ew.
Hooray!
I hope you all enjoyed the session. Thank you very much for playing, guys. As
Thanks for
always,
running
quite, no problem at all. Very much enjoyed it. I'm always quite happy to chat for a little bit after this. However, I'm going to end the broadcast here in a few moments. Just say thank you for anyone who is watching, either now or in the future, and we'll hope to see you in the next episode. Till then, bye-bye.